How's my audio?
Good.
Welcome, everyone. This is Kelly DuMar. I'm a board member of the International Women's Writing Guild, and I'm really, really happy to welcome each and every one of you from wherever you're attending from to the second day of our first Digital Village open house. This is day 2, October 15th, 2017. We're so delighted with the program that we have lined up for you today. It includes the wonderful Dorothy Randall Gray, who's going to be our featured speaker and presenter. We're so excited. We've been dreaming about launching this digital village so that we could connect with you year-round in a digital world with our resources, with our support system, with our strong sisterhood, with our encouragement, with our craft talks, everything we have lined up for you. We're going to tell you all about that. But the first thing I want to do with you today, we have a phenomenal board head, Judy Hahne, and she wanted to be here with us to help launch this Digital Village open house. It's been the vision of the entire board to do this over the past year. And Judy is going to be with us today. She's actually traveling in Europe. She's in somewhere, maybe in Sicily today, but she wanted to speak to you and welcome you in her own voice. And so we're going to introduce to you Judy, our board president, and she'll be with us in 1 second. Are you guys seeing Judy?
Yes.
Good.
Hi, I'm Judy Hahne. I'm a member, teacher, president of the board of the International Women's Writing Guild. And I want to put out a hand and welcome you to this digital village. You've just entered a very important open door in your life as a writer, as a woman, as a citizen of the world, who's embarking on being a change agent. For those of you who have been to the summer conferences of the Guild over the last 40 years, you know what it feels like to sit across a table from a stranger and get up as a friend. You know what it feels like to have women pay passionate attention to your reading during the 3-minute open mic nights in the evening. You know what it's like to sit next to a workshop director and know what it feels like to be in a community of women who choose to learn together. Today, the Guild is opening a door to the world. Through it, you may walk into a studio in Afghanistan where a woman is writing in secret. You may walk into a writing conference in Peoria, Illinois, where there don't happen to be a lot of memoir writers and you've been looking for a group and you can find it across the country, perhaps across the globe. You're going to be able to find experiences perhaps to lead a book group, a book discussion group on a book that you love, or even better, one you've written. Through these doors are going to pass everything that's possible for us as women writing in the world. The only limit is our own imaginations. So I welcome you to come inside, to find the places where you feel comfortable, to find the places that speak to you, and to lend a hand to another woman writer somewhere to bring her into the fold. This is a part of the Guild that's now available to you, no matter where you live, no matter what time of day. You can come in your pajamas. You can come in the middle of writing something. You can come at the end of a second draft. You come when it works in your life, so that the experiences that you have had with the Guild are now available to you and available for you to help provide other women. The world needs your voice. The Guild needs your voice. and this village is your home. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks to Judy. That was really lovely to have her with us today. I want to mention that we have some panelists on video for you, and if you're attending from wherever you are, we don't see you and we can't hear you. We may at some point be able to see you or hear you once if we turn you into a panelist temporarily, but otherwise you'll be seeing all of us, you'll be hearing all of us, and we can't hear or see you. But I do want to tell you who else is on the panel that you can see right now. Introduce Marj Hahne, who is the interim program director. Marj? Oh, she's muted, sorry.
Actually, a communications coordinator now.
Okay, so Marj Hahne, our communications coordinator. Jan Phillips, co-executive director. Dorothy Randall Gray, our featured presenter here, who's also a member of our board, and our faculty. We have Hope Player, who's co-executive director and also our interim treasurer. And of course, we have Dixie King, who is our just recently, our new conference coordinator, who is no longer our co-executive director. I'm gonna let Dixie tell you who she is and what she's doing now.
Hi, can everybody hear me? I'm on? Okay, good. First of all, I just want to say very quickly, yesterday was a remarkable experience in the Digital Village. Those of you who are not aware, you're going to see something at the bottom of your screen if you move your cursor around that says chat. If you click on that, that's going to open up a white box to your right, I believe, if you're on PC at least. And you're going to see part of a chat room, and you can actually put in comments if you go down to the bottom where it says type message here. We would love to hear from you. Please feel free to comment, to ask your questions here, and we'll try to stay on top of that. Once we get into other aspects of the program, Kelly will be talking more about how you can ask specific questions of our panel. But in the meantime, yesterday was very exciting. We had Nigeria, Sri Lanka, we had Jamaica, we had Guyana, and today it looks like we also have Haiti and Morocco. Is this amazing? So welcome international women to the International Women's Writing Guild. This is just incredibly exciting. For the last 3 years, I have been serving as executive director of the Guild, which has been an amazing, amazing experience and a phenomenal opportunity. On the other hand, it's also been an extremely demanding occupation because we've grown a lot. Over the last 3 years, our membership has broadened very extensively. We have put together this incredible digital village that we're launching this fall. We have a new and interactive website that if you haven't visited, you must visit. It's pretty exciting too. And we also are going to have the opportunity to welcome your contributions, your submissions to some contests, and we'll be talking a little bit about those later. That'll be opening up in 2018. We also have expanded our regional conferences, and we've had conferences along with our regular New York City conference every year. We've had California, we've had Florida, we've had Western Pennsylvania, we have Boston, Massachusetts. So lots of opportunity for participation. But we also know that it's really, really important that we be able to reach out to women who otherwise would never have an opportunity to come to one of our in-person events. Digital Village is that opportunity. So we're so excited to welcome you here today to the launch of what is going to be a whole series of opportunities for you to participate online at any point in time without having to travel to the United States or to a particular location where you might not have the time or resources to do that. I would love to introduce to you, as I said, I've been executive director and it's been a very demanding role. I've asked the board recently to make me conference coordinator and to step back from the executive director role. And that's simply because I have a business to run that is my primary source of income. And I want my writing life back because in serving all of you wonderful, incredible writers, which has been such a privilege, my own writing has really come to a halt. And I need to change that and get back into what is obviously soul nurturing for all of us, or we wouldn't be here. We are so fortunate that Hope Player, the treasurer of our board, has been willing, along with Jan Phillips, a very long-term member and long-term workshop instructor, to step up as co-interim executive directors while we do a nationwide search for our new executive director. And so I want to introduce them now. And I know that Jan is in a place where she has limited Wi-Fi availability, so we're going to put her on quickly and hope that it holds out for just long enough for her to say her hellos, and then we'll have Hope talk a little bit about their new role as co-executive directors of the Guild. So Jan, you're on.
All right. I'm so excited that we are from many countries for this gathering, just as we were yesterday. And I want to just say, by way of introducing myself to you, that I first came to the Guild and became a member in 1989. And I couldn't imagine my life without being part of this community of women. And when I first went to the very first Guild Summer Conference, it happened that there was about 300 of us there that year. And some women really kind of confessed to me early on during a lunchtime conversation or something that they didn't think they were really writers, that they only wrote occasionally in their journals or maybe kept track of a few dreams or something. But they've been coming for like 10 or 12 years, kind of because they couldn't not come, because the feeling of sisterhood is so powerful there. The feeling of support, the feeling of joy that you get in the classrooms with such amazing teachers, the feeling of awe that you get when you read your work to the first time to a crowded auditorium of hundreds of women who are eager to hear what you've written. So it's a community that sounds like technically any other women's writing community, but I'm here to say that it's a spiritual force. It has emotional roots. It goes right to the soul. And I have been to many, many conferences and organizations like this, but this is the one that sustains me. I had one book written when I first went, and now I have actually 11. And those have been sourced by the love, the joyfulness, and the sisterhood that I have felt being a member of this organization. So my call out to you is to come and join us too, because I want you to feel what I have felt for all these decades. I want you to feel like someone's got their arms around you and somebody really sees who you are as a woman, as a writer, and as a global citizen whose words will really make a difference in these times to come. So welcome everyone. Have a great time for this next call. And I have to get out because my Wi-Fi connection is so miserable, but I'm just thrilled that you're going to be carrying on. Have a good time, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jan. And with us in spirit, Hope from New Jersey. Can we have you say a few words about your new role?
Absolutely, Dixie. I'm pleased to see all of the smiling faces here today. Yesterday was a wonderful day, and I think today is going to be just as spectacular. I joined the Guild in 2003, and it has, by attending a Spring Big Apple conference. It was a couple in New York City. It was a couple of years later before I went to summer conference. And the first time I went, I'm a business writer. The first time I went, I thought, I'll just go for the weekend, because I'm not sure about all of this poetry and fiction stuff. And after 3 days, I was so disappointed I had to leave. The next year I went for the whole week and was absolutely overwhelmed and exhausted and fulfilled. And shortly thereafter, I became a workshop director. So every time I've gotten around the group, I've just immersed more and more. Excuse me. I'm excited to be able to step into the role excuse me, of the interim co-executive director. That's a mouthful of a title, but I get to share it with Jan, so I'm very, very excited about that. And as treasurer, I've been doing an awful lot of back office stuff anyway, so I just see, my transition is going to be much easier than than it sounds, just because I've already had my hands in a lot of things from behind the scenes. So I'm thrilled to be able to step into this role, as we look to continue our growth and all of these fun things that the Guild is bringing on board right now.
Thanks so much, Hope. Yeah, I think all of us who've had our experience with the Guild, almost everyone, it's been through face-to-face contact at some kind of an event. And I know my first was in 1999, also at the summer conference. And I went, and boy, I was coming from California, and the expense was just overwhelming at that time. And I had a friend who insisted I had to go, and I thought she was crazy, and I thought, I'm going to take the risk anyway. And it changed my life. And I decided to come back a second year, and I thought, you can never swim in the same river twice. You're going to be disappointed. And it was even better. And I think that the opportunity now to create that experience online for people is just going to be amazing. And I know that we can do that because it's already happening. And I think the spirit of the comments that we got yesterday tell us that just bringing people together face to face, creating that opportunity for many, many different kinds of options through Digital Village is going to be an exciting way to stay connected all year round. So thank you for your willingness, years and Jan's, to step up to the plate and take on a load of work, which I know you're very, very aware of because we've been joined at the hip now for a couple of years here. So thank you again. We really appreciate it. And Kelly, do you want to talk a little bit about what today is going to look like and then maybe introduce Jan's film?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Dixie. Thanks to Hope and Jan as well. Welcome, everybody. I know that you're all using the chat room. That's terrific. Just a reminder, we are seeing your name in the chat room. It looks like, to you, it looks like it's me, but we're seeing your name, and it's really wonderful. I want to welcome really all of the 47 participants we have right now in the room, calling from literally all over the world. I want to tell you that what you should be able to do, again, we can't see or hear you, but you can all see us, and you can hear us when we're unmuted. And in your top left part of your screen, if you take your cursor and scroll up left, you should see the commands that you have available to you, the choices and the things that you can actually do on this call. You can control your own audio, and in terms of turning it up, turning it down, you can, you should see an icon for Q&A, and you should see an icon also for chat. All right, and so those are the controls that you have. In the Q&A, when we're going to use the Q&A is during Marj's interview with Dorothy. So as Dorothy is speaking and you have a comment or a question for Dorothy, you can put it in the Q&A queue, and Marj will, when she opens the Q&A queue, at the point that she's ready to do that, we'll begin to address. She may not get to all of them. I see we already have a question in the Q&A, so we'll get to you as soon as we can. So that's a place for you to communicate, and then we can ask your question live in the webinar, and we'll get to as many of those as that we have time for. Quick overview of the day. We're going to, any minute now, also is Kathleen O'Connor on the call? I believe she probably is. We're going to invite her on for a minute shortly. Just want to make sure. And then I'm going to show you a very exciting piece of a movie that Jan, who just left the call, created. And it's a really fabulous movie for women writers. And it talks about the 40-year history of the Guild. Even though our digital village is brand new and we're just starting out, we're a 40-year-old organization. And don't we look wonderful for our age, by the way? I think we're just doing terrifically. So one thing, so we're going to have Marj Hahne interview Dorothy Randall Gray about creativity as a spiritual source. I believe that's the title. And then we're going to, after that hour, we're going to talk about membership in the International Women's Writing Guild. How do you become a member? Why would you want to become a member? What are the benefits of being a member? We have some close friends, some supporters and members of the International Women's Writing Guild who are really eager to tell you their own experience of membership in the Guild. And talk about that. We're also going to have, Dixie's going to introduce our inaugural literary prizes. We're thrilled to be on this call, this webinar with you today, announcing our 2018 literary prizes that you are going to be able to submit to. And so that's another exciting part. And then after that, this is all Eastern time, at 6 o'clock is our All Voices open mic, which Marj, you may remember, she will be moderating that for us. That will go for an hour, and then we'll be wrapping up. So if you are, you may be one of the members who has volunteered and requested to read 3 minutes in the open mic, and at that point, we'll be doing that for approximately 1 hour. Right now, I see that Cathleen O'Connor, one of our board members, welcome Kathleen. Love to ask Kathleen to take 2 minutes if you would. Thanks for joining us again today. So lovely to see you. Where are you calling in from?
From my home in New York.
New York. Okay, welcome to you again from New York. Would you tell us, Kathleen, anything you'd like to tell us about how membership, both, I would say, as a member in the International Writing Guild, how did you get here? What's kept you here? How does membership feed, nourish, enhance your writing life?
Well, I joined, I think it was 1981. I just turned 31, and I had a cousin who lived in New York and was telling me about this wonderful organization. So I joined, and I've stayed a member all this time, even when I was traveling in my corporate job and couldn't get to anything. I just kept renewing my membership because it was really touched my heart and soul, as this is what it means to write. I went to several of the Skidmore conferences, I think in the late 80s, early 90s. And this organization is what enabled me to give myself the permission to call myself a writer, is what I say. And, you know, I belong to Romance Writers of America. I belong to Women Fiction Writers. I belong to other organizations, but there's something about the non-competitive, supportive, soulful community that is the IWWG that brings me something that I don't get anywhere else. And so that's why I've stayed with it. That's why I'm honored to be a board member and to teach occasionally, because it's just that beautiful feeling of connection, support, love, if you want to call it that, that we create together as women.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Kathleen. We're lovely to have you on our board and on the call today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We are going to now have an opportunity to view this really spectacular short video that Jan Phillips created from footage that had been taped over the course of really 40 years of women attending the International Women's Writing Guild annual summer conference. And it's going to take you on a trip through time. It's going to take you on a journey of what it means to many women to discover themselves as writers, to connect with other women writers, to be at our annual summer conference, why the writing process that people experience, that women experience at our conference, has really changed their lives. So I'm going to show you a piece, almost the entire video, but not quite the entire thing. But I want to let you know that it is going to be available tomorrow on our website, our YouTube website, where you can go, and I hope you'll watch it again and watch the whole video in its entirety. So just sit back and relax and enjoy.
When you truly possess all you have been and done, which may take some time, you are fierce with reality.
It's a hard thing to make up stories to live by. We can only retell and live by the stories we have read or heard. But I don't believe that life is supposed to make you feel good or to make you feel miserable either. Life is just supposed to make you feel. Everything has 100 parts and 100 faces. I take one of them I jab into it, not as wide, but as deep as I can. DuMar was under the family. Now put family in quotes, because for many of us, the family is not the people that were related to your birth. It's whoever you feel is your family.
But all the face, the skin on the face is all poetry of women that I like the best, the poems I like the best, you know, Miss Anonymous, who must have been a woman because otherwise, if it was a he, would have gotten a name. This was the one that really gave me the idea of having them life-size, because I knew that the muse is always the one that sits over the shoulder, so I wanted the muse tall enough to like look over my shoulder. I think when we're working with creative endeavors is you get to points where you don't like it, you know, and you have to, and you don't like it because it's not presenting itself with an easy solution, you know, and then when you break through this solution and you can fall in love with it again.
That little man in black there, he said women can't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man, they had nothing to do with him. If the first woman God made was strong enough to turn this world upside down all alone, then these would be him together. Oh, we will turn it back and get it right side up again. And now, they is asking us to do it. And our men better let.
Women write with their whole selves. So the part of women that write is not just the pen, hand, and paper, or the computer mouse. People write with their whole selves, and this is a conference that deals with the whole person, your vocational self, your spiritual self, your emotional self, all the parts of you, all of which you pull on when you connect with the writing experience.
I called my husband before work the Thursday of Skidmore, bubbling about the limelight aftermath of an essay I'd written on a bathroom scale. "You're not thinking about going back there next year, are you, Martha?" he zinged at me. Protectively, instinctively, I answered as I always have, tiptoeing gently, safely around the issue. "Oh, no, of course not, dear." I should have said, and I will say, when I stepped down the train steps in my new marbleized, very wild mind Skidmore dress, "Honey, I'd go back to Skidmore if I had to crawl on my belly through razor grass on a sand dune to get there, or stand naked in front of an audience of the parents of the children in my 6th grade class. Honey, yes, I'm going back, and it'll be the best choice I ever helped you encourage me to make."
I know Skidmore's not into things like beautiful, but at Skidmore, I feel beautiful. All the way, out in the world, I don't, and I feel beautiful here. And my friend Pat just said it's not about beautiful, but I think it is about beautiful.
Wasn't that amazing? Do you believe that we have Dorothy Randall Gray featured in a few places in those videos? That is perfect timing, because she is here to talk to you herself about these experiences of being in the Guild, being a writer. It's really amazing to see that wonderful footage of you both and writing with your whole, women writing with their whole bodies. It's really fabulous. Thank you for joining us today. I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. You will be able to see it on our website. And right now, I'm going to turn it over to Marj Hahne so that she can introduce the next segment with Dorothy Randall Gray.
Excellent. Welcome, folks. I want to add to some functionality concerns you may be having. Those of you who have contacted us by phone, there are 4 of you who called in. You have no ability to contact us. There isn't a raised hand option right now in the technology. So I just wanted to let you know that you have only audio capacity, and these videos from yesterday's Digital Village Open House and today's will both be posted on our public Facebook page, in our private Facebook group, IWWG Members Room, and also on our YouTube channel, IWWG channel. So anyway, welcome to our next segment. I'm going to introduce Dorothy Randall Gray. I'm not a fan of rereading a bio that you can read in the schedule that you've probably already read in all our promo material, but I'll just say briefly that who Dorothy Randall Gray is for me is she's multi-magic. She's not only a writer of multi-genres, but she is a visual artist. If you ever seen her, you see that she expresses her creativity in every time she dresses. I love talking about music with Dorothy, so I'm sure there's musical expression in her that I haven't witnessed yet, we haven't witnessed yet. And I think she brings creativity to everything she does, and spirituality. That's the name of our topic today, spirituality as a creative force. So Dorothy, I believe the bullet points of your biography will show up in our conversation today. So thank you for giving us your time and energy.
Thank you, Marj. It was interesting to see my old glasses and my old hair.
So Dorothy, I just want to let folks know that you're concerned about the fact that the volume isn't syncing up with your lips, but it's okay. We got you. Here's my first question, Dorothy. How do you define spirituality and how do you define creativity?
You know, those are 2 questions that I don't have the best time defining. I can say that spirituality has something to do with a connection to something larger than yourself. It connects with your inner life, your inner soul, something that is separate and distinct from the physical or material world. So when you connect with the spiritual self or the spiritual world, you're connecting with something that's very deep inside of you, that has no connection with any institution or edifice. It connects with something deep within you that you can experience and you can connect with when you're in nature, when you're in writing mode, in anything. When you wake up in the morning and you say, I feel good, your spirit feels great. So that is what I might consider to be a definition. Although I have to tell you, I was writing my book Soul Between the Lines, which became a bestseller, and I had to give it to the editor for that, her take on it. And she said, okay, you have to define spirituality. I said, oh no, everybody knows what spirituality is. So I resisted the editor. I resisted all things that asked me to define something I felt was indefinable. So here you are with that first question. I thought, well, let me come up with something that might mean something to some people, an inner life, an interconnectedness with something that is larger than yourself, that may or may not have a name. It's a feeling, it's an experience, connecting with something universal. So that is the best I can come up with right now.
Got it. And how about creativity?
Okay, that has to do with the ability to create new things, use your imagination, to be innovative, to think of new ideas, think of new thoughts, think of new and different ways of doing things. So that is an element that is in every person. Every person has that creative energy. Sometimes you see it with children, sometimes you see it with writers, sometimes you see it with artists. It's all over the place. New ways, being innovative, being imaginative. That's creativity. That is how I would say, I would define it. And so it's something that's in every single person, every single thing. The animals create new ways of doing things. They create ways of building nests. Imagine your bird. Imagine if you're trying to build something, a house, with your mouth. That's what birds do. They build a whole nest with their mouths. They find twigs and stones and all kinds of things to make a home for themselves. That's creativity. They will create it. They will have their birds and their babies inside, and then they will leave it behind. So sometimes you create something and you let it go. If you're a writer, you create something, you send it out to be published for, you put it in the drawer, you'll save for later. So that creative energy doesn't always have to show itself, it just has to be.
So Dorothy, if spirituality and creativity are 24/7 modalities of being, how might we relate to our writing practice as a spiritual practice, or view it as such, establish it as such, create it as such? And the corollary question is, how might we relate to everything we write as a sacred text? I'm just saying so. Anything, how can we organize ourselves that way?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that word organizing, because there's a way that I organize myself and the way that I ask my students to organize themselves in writing. And I ask them to take a moment to do maybe 5 minutes of warm-up. And that is putting on some nonverbal music, some lyrical music, sitting still for just 5 minutes, letting the music move them and move through them, and being still and allowing yourself to open up to the creative energy that is always and already inside you. And I start the day with music. I start the day with this quiet time. Sometimes I have people move in a certain way. But I find that when you meditate or have and invite stillness for just maybe 5 minutes or so before you start writing, that tells the body, okay, I'm ready to write. It's like a warm-up you do before exercising. I'm ready to write. Come on. I want to have access to all that creative energy that you say is inside me. Open up those oceans and let them flow through me. And that 5 minutes and the lyrical music allows that doorway to open. It's like an ATM machine. You've got access to it. ATM means all that matters. You already have all that matters within you. And then at 5 minutes, you'll find the floodgates will open, and what you need will be waiting inside, waiting for you to reach it, pull it out, and put it on paper or a sheet of music or wherever you decide you're going to direct your creative flow to. I do this before I create. I do beading, do beadwork. I've done bookmaking, loving bookmaking and the colors and everything. I've been a silversmith, again, creating. So whatever it is, whatever you want to direct your energy towards, take that 5 minutes to just knock on the door and say, hey, come on out now. We're ready for you.
So Dorothy, I know I find that my internal being is pretty variable depending on the environment I'm in, whether it's urban versus rural or man-made versus God-made, however you want to call it. You move a lot between city and country. You've been overseas. How has the change in your external environment impacted your being, your spirituality, your creativity, constructively and destructively? You know, usually we think, oh, destructively, but perhaps also constructively. How does moving between external environments impact you?
Well, I just want to say that every moment is a creative moment if you're open to it. You can't always open to it sometimes because you have a life filled with distractions. And certain environments, I think, automatically invite that creative experience. For example, when I'm in New York, I'm a New Yorker. No matter where I live in LA, but I am a New Yorker. And when I hit New York, something about the energy and the movement and the hubbub invites words to come out. Almost like, hey, hurry up now, come on, get the stuff out of you. When I was in India, I was invited to speak in India and share the dance with the Dalai Lama. And I had a speech to do, and I hadn't finished the last line. And I was going to be at an auditorium the next day in front of 1,500 people and saying, oh my goodness, what's the last line to this speech? And I'm up all night, and it's Diwali, and there's smoke all over the place. And I'm saying, okay, all right, I need this to happen. Well, I call on my ancestors every day. That's part of my meditation. The ancestors are a living, breathing part of my life. And so I'm in the middle of the speech, and I did a silent call out to my grandma and said, Grandma, send me my last line. I was doing a talk about not knowing my real name, about how the names were taken away from Africans before they were brought to this country. And I didn't know my real name. So that was the chant that I kept repeating in the talk was, what do I call myself? And so when I asked my grandmother for the last line, the line that came to me was, for now, just call me friend. What I didn't know was that my not knowing my name impacted that audience of Indian people so deeply. And when I went out to the lobby and greeted the people, they came to me, first of all, I didn't know that the people in the audience were crying. There was the head rabbi from Australia, there was a queen mother from Ghana. They were all crying. I didn't know that not knowing my name has struck such a chord. And one woman said, I saw roots, but I never knew the effect roots had on the African people until I heard you say you did not know your name. How did you people live? See, the name tells the caste, the class, the region you're from, your ancestry, everything. And here we are as descendants of African people, not knowing our name, having to reinvent ourselves. So in that instance of needing a line and needing to know how to frame the ending of my talk, it got sent to me. It was sent and I received it. And I received all kinds of information, insights, inspiration from spirit. Sometimes it comes like a whisper. Sometimes it says, why'd you do that? Really, Dorothy, why did you do that? And so I opened myself. I just listened deeper. You know, I mean, sometimes, you know, we all live these lives, and sometimes there are women, particularly women, who live a life, but they haven't lived it loud enough. And writing is a way to live your life louder. It's a way to be heard, to be seen, to be recognized, to be honored, to be appreciated. And so writing is so important to me and to women whose voices must be heard, must be seen, must be witnessed. And it's so important for us to be in circles and in conferences so we can witness each other. You know, even if someone say, go girl, yeah, that's right, you said that, or I feel the same way. So in that sense, in circles and at conferences like the Guild Conference, we share spirit. We share that support. We share the energy, and thus it gets multiplied. Whether I'm in China, whether I'm in India, whether I'm in Brazil, in China, I connected with the spirit of these young girls who are at CS University. And I was doing a program with the World Assembly for the Future of Women. And doing leadership training with these young girls, I felt the innocence of their spirit, the openness, the willingness to receive information from somebody who did not look anything like them. It was very interesting to be in China and be Black and be me being the alien instead of other people being the alien as they are in the United States. So again, I had to call on my spirit to be open and receptive to people who would just stare at me. In China, it's not considered rude to just stare, and people would come up and just look like that. And I didn't say, "What are you looking at?" I just smiled. I said, "Ni hao, ni hao," and they would smile back. So I had to connect with the spirit of the language and the people. So wherever I go, I try to tune in to who and how people are, and carry that and know that that same spirit is in every person. It just has different faces.
Dorothy, you just gave me a great segue, but it's also connected to the notion of knowing your name. And I'm always interested, since language is our medium, it's our art-making medium, how mostly in traveling to other countries, you've experienced other languages. And I'm curious if you've been able to discern how language constructs being. I think of ideas like, in a country or in a language where they don't have a word for trash, trash doesn't happen. And we all know many words for snow. So you think, in those countries, or languages, is there a different way of moving around the world because there's different ways of seeing because of the language?
Knowing where you are and knowing the cultural norms of the people really helps. You don't just barge into a country just with all your Americanness. You take time to know how people are, how they might like to be greeted, and what kinds of things might be considered wonderful in America, but not so wonderful in a different country. For example, there is an American way of saying okay, and it's putting your fingers together, and having and like that. This is okay, and great. How do you feel? Okay. Well, I'm in Brazil, and I'm taking a cab, and the driver asks, "How do you like Brazil?" I do okay, He looks at me. Well, this happened a couple of times, and he was frowning, and finally someone told me, "Dorothy, in America, that means okay. In Brazil, that means asshole." So you really have to know where you are, who and how the people are. Take the time to get to know them and to say a few words, and it opens up doors. So that's how my travels have kind of informed me and invited me to be humble and to receive more than I give, to listen more than I talk, to find out what's going on in their lives, what kind of foods do they eat, what turns them on, what are they passionate about, those kinds of things, universal things that go across any country you go to. So I think the best universal language is a smile.
I wonder can you speak about what you've learned about spirituality and creativity, though, from observing other cultures?
What have I learned? Just like I said, to be receptive. I learned the deep and powerful history of spirituality in various countries. In India, the language and the music, for example, 5,000 years old, the the history in China, you know, thousands of years old. As a matter of fact, when I was in China, I did a PowerPoint showing the African languages from Africa and the languages from China came about around the same time, but the African ones came before, and there's a connection between African and spiritual and Chinese languages and culture through spirit. So the shared spirit is just ancient. So I learned a lot by reading and by listening to various people and by sharing what it is that I know.
Dorothy,
oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
I was in India, and the driving is chaotic. It's chaotic. You may be driving around and you wonder why the traffic has come to a standstill. Maybe because there's a cow in the middle of the city, and the cars just sit there and wait for the cow to move because cows are sacred. And so you might go to the ATM machine to take your money out, and you can't do it because there's a cow sitting in front of there, or a pig just walked by the sidewalk. And so I was in a car, and you always get a driver that goes with the car. And the driver was pulling out of something and banged into the side of someone's car and then sped off. It just so happened that the person who owned the car saw him, got in his car, and raced after the car that I was in with the driver. And I thought, oh my God, what a confrontation. Oh, they're really going to be angry. And what the driver said, whose car had been hit, he said, "You didn't say sorry. You didn't say sorry." I said, oh my God. That's all? He was offended because the driver hit his car and didn't say sorry. In LA, that would have been a whole other piece of road rage. So how the spirit manifests in different countries is something very different. And like I say, you just watch and listen.
Dorothy, we got a couple questions I'm going to combine into one, because I do think you've spoken a little bit about how we can prepare ourselves for our writing, how to be more creative toward our writing, but perhaps there's more to say about that, including what are the literary and spiritual influences on you as a writer?
I have to say, there are writers who I love. I love Toni Morrison. I love Zora Neale Hurston, Roxane Gay, all these powerful people that I love, and that I have to say, what inspires me. I go to poetry readings, and sometimes there's a seed, there's a piece of word that someone says, and oh, that really turns me on. It could be a poet, any poet. I wrote a poem about someone who didn't know where they were from. I think they were Latino or Latinx, and they were from somewhere else, but they didn't know which country. And I started a poem, just one line. So you have street poems. There's Frank Escamilla. There are all kinds of poets and writers that offer a spark of creativity just by reading. So for writers, I say, go to readings, take a notepad. In my workshops, I always have people, I talk about seeds. What is the seed? Collect seeds. What is that line, that word, that thought, that phrase that inspires you, that makes you say, write it down. Give that person credit, of course, but then see where that spark takes you. See where that seed takes you. Never be without your little pad and your pen. And I've got tons of pads and pens, but make sure you have a pad and pen to write down these lines and these ideas that will come to you out of nowhere. I was walking down the street, and this guy was trying to catch a rap. I was walking with a couple of friends, and he said, "Hey, baby, yo, baby, what's up? What's up? Hey, I could have a baby with you. You know what I'm saying? And the friend of mine turned around and said, "You can be replaced by a turkey baster." Well, that inspired a whole line in the novel Tamarindo that I'm writing on. But just that, it may come from anywhere. So be open to any ideas and write them down on paper. Be open to the way the sun rose in the morning. Be open to the color that the sky turns at night, the orange, the pink, the yellow. What does that remind you of? Is it a banana? Is it the first banana that you've had? What does the orange remind you of? Is it the color that your mother might have worn or was afraid to wear? Be open to every single thing. Every single thing, it gives you a seed for inspiration, for writing, for tuning in, for connecting in a deeper way, whatever it is. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. Is your practice a 24/7 thing, or do you typically have a time of day, a certain place? What keeps you engaged in the physical act of writing? One of our attendees asked. Anything else in addition to that pad of paper always on you?
I tell you, my life is like everybody else's. It's full of distractions. Distractions and activities and things that I'm passionate about, things that I care about. I love theater. I love plays. I love walking and seeing the outdoors. I love music. So those things kind of keep me engaged. The most productive time I've ever had was when I actually did a writing time in the morning. And I tell people, make an appointment with your writing. Make an appointment. Put it on your calendar. And if anybody tries to call or anything like that, just say, no, I have to go to my appointment. So make an appointment, put it on your calendar. If it's for an hour or so, 2 hours, make that happen. The other thing is, if you're working 9 to 5, don't go home after work. I tell people, just take yourself to a little coffee shop or a library, write for like 1 hour, and then go home. Trust me, your text will be there. Your spouses, your children, your everything will still be there. But give yourself that time. Carve out just a piece of time every day to write. I write every single day. It's not always a poem. It's not always a story, but I write every single day, and that's why I've got tons and tons of pads. And so I just say, make sure you honor that spirit of writing that's inside you, that ocean of creativity. Honor it by letting it flow every single day. If it's a half hour, if it's an hour, give yourself that time. You deserve it. Your writing deserves it. So I keep myself engaged that way by seeing all kinds of creative writings and theater and everything else that goes on around me. And by taking time, I spend time with the sky. As people who emailed me know, I sign off my everything by saying, sharing the same sky. A lot of time looking at the sky, the cloud formations, the birds, the energy of it, the way the blues turn to black, to midnight, to navy. I used to go on a hill in Echo Park in LA and write letters to the sky. Whatever came to me, I write letters to the sky, and I write out what would arrive, just watching the horizon. So those are things that I do. I engage with nature. I engage with plants. I have beautiful plants that I say hello to every morning. They like me to greet them. And I just stay engaged because this is who and how I am and how my spirit moves me. Spirit's in everything. Plants, everything, even, a car or a typewriter or whatever. You say, come on, typewriter, work, come on. I need you to write today. I need you to work today. So that's how I stay engaged, by recognizing the living energy and the spirit of every single thing.
Yeah, Dorothy, I've wondered too if writer's block really isn't writer's block per se, but if we had an ongoing project, a project in process, there'd always be something pulling us to the page. For example, writing to the sky every day. So that was a good suggestion there for how to, how do we set up our writing possibly as project to have something pulling us. But that leads me to a question around the fact that maybe we tend to use time as the reason for why we're not writing. And I wonder if that's the convenient reason. What other hurdles, obstacles do you think women writers are consciously or unconsciously managing that keeps them from writing?
Well, when people say that they have a writer's block, I usually tell them to move to another block. And what that means is that recognize the fear that is inside you. It's fear. It's nothing else but fear that maybe it won't be good enough. Maybe I won't have a better idea today than I had yesterday. Maybe I won't finish. Maybe it won't be accepted. Maybe it's not as good as the writers in my group. Maybe it's not as good as the books I've seen on the shelves. Everybody else has already written about their mothers, their fathers, their trauma, their cancer, their childhood. What do I have to say that's different? All these things, all these thoughts that get in the way of the real truth. The real truth is that everybody has a story that is unique to them. Everybody has a talent and imagination that is unique to them. And if you start putting it on paper without judging yourself, it will make a difference. And as women, too often we judge ourselves out of existence. We judge away our writings, our bodies, our attractiveness, our appeal, our intelligence. And so it's that fear of not being enough that gets in the way. That's really what it is. And so if you just address the fear and say, listen, hello, fear, like Billie Holiday said, good morning, heartache, and finally she said, hey, come in and sit down. Recognize it. I'm fearful, but I can overcome it. And so, I always have people doing affirmations. Phrase something in the present. I know I have a lot of fears around me, but I'd like the fear to just take a back seat this morning and let me try something else. Affirm yourself. Make an affirmation. Make that part of your 5 minutes. Make an affirmation about what it is that you really think might happen if you just start to write.
Dorothy, you may have just answered a question from Lisa St. John. How do you stay so positive in today's climate? Say more about that. And, we're in a dark, difficult world. Does that fear seep into your writing?
I think seeing the world as dark and difficult and fearful will stop people from doing anything. I think Alice Walker said something about the way people lose their power is by not recognizing that they have it. I refuse to see the world as dark and fearful. There are dark and fearful things happening in the world. There are dark and fearful things happening with the leaderships around the world. And I can't say I'm always positive, but I refuse to let it dominate me, my writing, or my life. I refuse to let it have power over me. We still have power. We have power. I tell people all the time, you know what, you want to change the world? Get out there and vote. Make a difference. Support somebody you believe in. Make a difference. Take some action. Work with a child. I work with high school students. I work with at-risk high school students. I'm changing the world by showing them a different way. I work with girls who are in juvenile detention centers. And I come in there teaching writing, but I'm teaching hope. So there are ways that we can make a difference in this world and change it. I just wrote something on my Facebook page talking about being positive, and like I said, I'm not 100% Pollyanna at all. I was doing a lesson plan on the Trail of Tears for my high school students, and I'm downloading the images, and I started crying. I just started sobbing, and I realized, hey, these are not just my tears; these are tears of my Cherokee great grandmother, who walked the Trail of Tears. These are tears of my people who came over and lost their lives and their names through the Middle Passage. These are tears of the people who lost their lives and their homes and the fires and the floods and all the catastrophes. These are tears of mothers who've lost their sons. These are tears of women who've lost themselves. And I cried. And you just let the tears flow. You let them flow and know that they're supposed to be there. My favorite saying that I love to say is, if you cry, it's because your spirit is thirsty. Feed your spirit, quench your spirit thirst with tears, and then get up and do something. Get up and take some action. Make a difference. Don't just sit there and do nothing. You're a creator, you're a woman, you're an artist, you're a writer. You have the power in your hands to make a difference in this world, no matter what, no matter who's leading it, no matter what's going on. That pen, that typewriter, that whatever is a sword. Use it to wield it and make a difference in this world. You have the power to use it.
Yeah, so Dorothy, again, you're anticipating the questions in the Q&A. Someone asked, can we not use fear as a motivation in our writing? And it certainly sounds like we don't need to transform our negative feelings before we sit down to write.
That's true. Put them on the paper. If you're crying, put it on the paper while you're crying. Put down whatever comes up for you. Put down what you're fearful. Make a list of fears. I fear, make a whole list. Make a whole list. Use a red, wide marker. Make a whole list. If you're angry about something, make a whole list of why you're angry. Put on that yellow legal pad, write the whole thing down. I was once very angry at somebody. I was so angry. I wrote a really nasty, ugly, angry letter. And I wrote it to 4 pages of that legal paper, really, really, really big. And I took it and I put it in an envelope and I put it, I said, to you know who, and I dropped it in the mailbox and I said, and with that, I let it go. That's it. Do it. Write it. Use it.
So Dorothy, Laura Kiley, our board vice president, asks, when did you know you were on the path to a deeply spiritual life? Have you always known it, or did it evolve? And I'd like to tweak it, if you don't mind, which is, others might want to know, when did you know you were on the path to a deeply literary life, a deeply creative life,
Elementary school. Believe it or not, and most people don't, I was very, very painfully shy. I was afraid to talk to people. I spent a lot of time hiding. When relatives came over to the house, I'd hide behind the bed. And finally, after dinner, somebody would say, don't you have another daughter? And they called me out and they said, Dorothy, come on. I reluctantly come out, and they would resume their talking, and I'd go hide behind the bed. I read voraciously, and because I didn't have a voice, because I didn't talk to anybody, I started writing. I started writing in 3rd grade. I was writing my own comic books. I was paraphrasing songs, writing my own lyrics to songs. So it started then. And that was my way of speaking. That was my way of communicating. And so when I did a poem, then I would sometimes get the attention that I craved, that I did not get in any other way, because most of the time I felt invisible. So the writing started very early, and it was a way of people connecting with me, because I had trouble connecting with people with that shyness. And they say it's never too late to have a happy childhood. I'm having a happy childhood now. So, in doing that, I enjoyed the writing that I did. But yeah, I started very, very early. I wrote poetry, and I was in my journals in high school and junior high school. And believe it or not, for a while I stopped writing. When I got married, I felt I was happy, and I wasn't writing. A lot of writing came from the invisibility or the unhappiness or whatever it was that I was going through. And I stopped writing, and I became a jewelry designer. So I designed and made jewelry. I had I had a studio in Soho. I had the studio for like 25 years. I became an award-winning jewelry designer, won lots of contests. My first account was at Bindell's in New York, so that was what I did. Later on, when the marriage ended, somehow I ended up getting back to writing. And so there were people who knew me who would argue, oh, yeah, Dorothy's that jewelry maker. No, she's a writer. No, she's a jewelry maker. Not that Dorothy Randall Gray. She's a writer. Well, I was both. And I had to come to a place where I was able to put the both things together. So the jewelry making and the bead making is like writing in color, in a sense. Putting the beads together, deciding which beads to come together, deciding which words need to come together. So it started very early and is continuing now. When did I know? It knew me. It knew me and captured me and said, okay, Dorothy, put yourself on paper so at least you can feel seen.
Dorothy, I'm going to ask a couple questions in the Q&A that, you know, I believe you've touched upon this, but they always, expansion's always good. How do you deal with a confused mindset in life while you're writing?
I write both of them down. And we all have dichotomy and, you know, and confusion. We all have that. I write both things down. I could be conflicted about any number of things. I have to give both of the things voice. If I'm confused about something, I'll write down the confusion. That writing really clears away a lot of cobwebs. You know, I'll make a list and I'll have one line, maybe even give it a name. You know, maybe Lucinda wants something else and Bridget wants a different thing. So I might decide to make them both characters. Bridget wants to have a happy life with a marriage and children and whatever, and Lucinda didn't want to be bothered with men at all. So with a confusing mind, you've got two or several different streams of inspirations you can pull from. That's a good thing. You know, write it down, make them characters. Make them characters in conflict. That's great stuff. Be confused and be creative about what you're confused about.
Thank you. Another question from the Q&A. As a new writer passionate about self-development, how best should the writing be portrayed, or what writing style is being preferred? I'm not sure if the question is asking if one wants to write about self-development or use the writing for self-development, but I'm gonna have you answer that how you understand it.
Writing for self-development is a very important tool, and there are modalities that recognize this. There's poetry therapy, you know, there's journaling therapy, and so there are all kinds of ways that you can really find out things about yourself, and sometimes by writing really fast. There's one school of thought that says, write with your left, write a question down with your right hand and write the answer with your left hand. That's one school of thought, you know? So the one exercise that you can try. But you, of course, you can use your writing as a mirror to reflect who and how you are, and maybe how you changed or how you developed, how you want to look at yourself maybe a year later or a week later. You know that writing that I said do half an hour when you don't go home directly from work? When you do that writing, don't look at it. Don't look at it. Just write the stuff. Don't look at it till the end of the week. See how you are. See how you reacted to the day, and maybe how certain circumstances have changed you so that you have a different perspective by the end of the week. Okay, so writing for self-development is very, very powerful. And I did a seminar at the Poetry Therapy Association some years ago, and it's a very powerful tool to use. So yeah, do for self-development. You don't have to publish everything. You don't have to put everything in print. Just write, put it down on paper, do your journaling. You know, and maybe you'll find one line or one stream of thought that you say, I wonder if this is a poem. I wonder if it wants to be a poem. Let your writing tell you what it wants to be. Whatever modality you're in. I do non-genre workshops because I believe in having the writing come through And then once it's on the paper, you know, like a baby kicking and screaming, then it will tell you what kind of life it wants to have. It will really talk to you. If you open up and you ask it, what do you want to be? You got to be a novel? You got to be a character? So I just suggest stay open to everything. If you're a novelist, if you're a poet, nonfiction writer, don't define yourself. Don't limit yourself by definition. You know, don't define yourself out of existence. Don't define your work away, and just stay open to everything and write what comes to you and what comes through you. And that original writing that came through you, don't change it, don't edit it. Just make a copy and then make it be something else if you want to. But that original stuff is like gold. That came through unedited and unfiltered from somewhere deep inside you. So just like use that to really take a look at yourself and what you want to be, what your writing wants to be. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and again, anticipating the next in the Q&A when you said, you know, you don't have to publish everything. Question from, I think it's pronounced Lunes Lopez. Do you always finish whatever you start writing? How do you know when it might be pointless to continue a story? And I'll add on poem, novel, memoir, etc.
They're always finished when I'm writing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And sometimes the stuff is not ready to be finished. I think there's a knowing, and you know, there's a point at which if you keep adding and adding and adding, it gets to be fruitless. And so you don't always know, but you have a sense that it is that you're writing. And then that's the time when you have your writing, you've done some, let's say you're writing a story, and you've done the best you could, you've edited it down. That's the time to consult a professional editor, depending on what it is, where it is you want it to go. If you want to publish the work, that's the time you're going to go to somebody professional. Now, I want to say this about writing groups. Sometimes there is a lot of envy in writing groups, and you want to be mindful of sharing your first works or your first thoughts with a writing group, because the writing can be too tender to get comments on. And sometimes a comment may just stop that writing right there. You know, you may have thought you were finished, and then someone says, oh no, that's you're going the wrong direction, whatever it is. You know, there's a place in your mind where you kind of know where you want to go. You may not always agree with everybody's opinions, but when you've already done your best, send it to somebody that you don't know, that whose work you value, who doesn't have an investment in your friendship or your connection with them. I cannot stress that strongly enough. So you may look at a piece of work years later and say, you know, I could have done more with that. That's always going to happen. But once you raise that child and that child goes off to college, that's it. You've done your best. You've done your best. So you don't always know what you try to know, and you try to ask the poem. Are you finished? You have something more to say? Ask the work. Trust the work. It will tell you. Trust that inside spirit, that inside energy. Trust that. It will really tell you all kinds of things. Someone should tell me if I had a test the next day, she told me to put the book up on my pillow. I said, oh man, that's some old country stuff. That's some old fashioned country stuff. You know, now you have all kinds of scientists telling you about the DNA and the DNA language and all kinds of things that come through you while you're sleeping. You know, my mom was ahead of her time. She knew that there was an unconscious or subconscious way of absorbing knowledge that went past the anxiety of taking a test. So maybe, there's my cell phone. Hold on a second. This is live and in living color. Okay. So you know, I just say, just trust it. Trust the professional. Trust somebody who's writing. Really honor and know, and see what happens. And if you don't agree with them, just take in what they say, and you know, go forward with your work. That's it. Trust it. Dorothy, you know, I don't finish everything. I got tons of stuff I haven't finished, but that just means that I'll be working for the rest of my life. Got material for the rest of my life to finish.
Dorothy, in your workshops, you often include dance, music, and other means to get creativity flowing. This comes from Dixie King. Can you talk more about the impact of multi-genre work on writing? And I'm going to combine that with a question from Christina Williams. How does your spirituality shape your writing? So what's the impact of multi-genre work on your writing? And how does spirituality shape your writing?
Well, I pretty much, I think, addressed that spirituality shaping my writing, which means it shapes everything I write. Toni Morrison said that her characters will tell her what color shoes they wear. If she writes, Tom was wearing brown shoes, the characters will say, I was wearing black shoes that day, honey. And so that's that spirit energy talking. And the characters that we create kind of have a life of their own and come alive, and they will tell you, I wasn't wearing that, I was wearing this. So that's how I listen when I ask a question and I listen to the answer. And that's how the spirituality can impact on my writing. I was writing my novel and I was writing this thing and it said, something said, you know what your writing needs? It needs a bitch. I said, oh, okay. So I create this character, because it needs to have some conflict. So that's what I listened to. I didn't know my spirit was talking like that, but anyway, it did, and I created this whole other character, which became one of my favorite characters, actually. So that's how spirituality impacts on the writing. That's one of the ways in which it impacts on writing. Another way that it does is by recognizing the spirit and energy in every living thing. I'm going to read a piece also today that illustrates that life force in everything. The first part of the question was what?
Multi-genre, dance, and then segue into reading that piece, Dorothy.
Yeah, when I was in China, before the students, they worked very hard. They started working taking classes at 6:30 in the morning. And when I had my classes with them, it was at 6:30 at night. First thing I had them do was get up out of their seats and dance around the room to Angelique Kidjo. So they would dance and said, move your arms, move your legs. They danced around and they freed their body up. So it's a quick change. It's changing from one thing to another. So the music invites creativity, it invites energy, it invites another force of you for you to apply to your writing. So music is really important. I have Zen violin music happening. So I use music to invite the creative force and the creative energy and the spirit. That's how I do it. And sometimes I'll dance around. That'll be my 5 minutes. I'll dance around and then say, okay, I'll sit down and write now.
Thank you. Will you share some of your writing with us? We have 7 minutes. I'll want to wrap up.
Okay.
For the half hour, but if you could share something, Dorothy, thank you.
Shameless plug. This is a book, Sharing the Same Sky, my book of poetry. All right, and this is a piece called "Fallen." And it was written through me by a branch that fell to the ground, and it was about to be mulched in a machine, and I picked it up. I said, "Oh, I need to take this home." In the night of endless stars, in the wishful rain that fell to earth, I fell with it, fallen like an angel, fallen like a fall from grace, a limb between branches, a woman among the weeds, broken like a hungry heart. I called your name. Wind ripped, storm tossed, jagged edged and helpless, waiting to be torn asunder, anonymous as a song without name, I called to you. Fallen like night falls without breaking, fallen like I've fallen out of favor, I called your name. You caught the scent of my womanness, the open eye between my legs, my place of birth and forgetting, my matrix and my madness. You took me home. Soften the bark of my being in the falling rain. Let me drink for the salt and sky of it. You stripped me down to my secrets, sanded me smooth, my roughness falling to the floor, anointed me with oil and the fragrance of your name, with the scent of dreams I had not dreamed. You twisted my soul with transcendence and touch. turned my womanhood wanting to no longer waiting. I know your name like I know my own. I have called it many times. You are love, and I am the beloved. Written by a branch through me.
Thank you, Dorothy. I'm going to ask what I suspect, and actually, I suspect this will be the last question from our Q&A because of the time. But Yasmin asks, what was your work where you felt more spiritual, philosophical, and creative? I'm not sure if Yasmin means genre or a time in your life, but if you could translate that.
Say that again.
Yeah, where was your work when you felt more creative, philosophical, spiritual? What was your work? So I'm not sure if it means which, depending on the genre you're writing in, do you?
Okay. If I look at the question in terms of genre,
I'm not sure. Let's look at it that way.
Yeah, in everything, in everything, everything. In that particular poem, it was this bridge. It was beautiful. It was twisted. I've never seen a bark twisted like that. I said, wow, that spoke to me, and it spoke to me in the forms of a poem. Something else may speak to me like somebody making a comment. It might turn into a short story. It might turn into something for a piece of my novel. So it doesn't matter what genre it is. When I open myself to receiving the energy, that's when, I'm sorry, I'm watching Kelly yawn. That's when the writing comes through. That's when the creativeness comes through. That's when spirituality is present all the time in everything, in everything. So that's how I live my life as a person, walking open to spirit as much as possible in everyday life. I do have a closing comment also. You have another question?
I was saying that Yasmin followed up saying, I mean a book, a poem, an article. So it sounds like it's not genre dependent for you or writing project dependent.
No, not at all. And matter of fact, in terms of spirituality, I've studied various spiritual systems. I've studied with a guru from Rishikesh. I studied with the Babalao from Ghana. I studied with a rabbi, a Hasidic rabbi. I have studied with all these a Christian priest. I've studied all these different spiritualities, different modalities, several of them, and so that's I've got the learning and the input from all kinds of spiritual practices, from the African, from the Eastern, from the Western philosophies. Everything has added up to my being this receptacle, this willing receptacle for spiritual energy and knowledge.
Dorothy, this is my last question for you. What advice do you think the Dalai Lama or any of those teachers you described, what advice would they give a woman writer?
I think he would give them the same advice that this woman paid $5,000 for when she attended a very special meeting. Each person who wants to have a personal audience with the Dalai Lama paid $100. $100. The next person will be $200. Next person will be $300. And so this woman paid $5,000. It's a limited audience. And when she got in there, she could barely speak, and she said, "What's the secret of success?" And he says, "Tell your story and write." And I think that's what he would tell every woman writer. Tell your story and write.
Dorothy Randall Gray, I want to tell everyone where they can find you on your website. It's also in the chat room, folks, but it's www.dorothyrandallgray.com.
Yes, and it's being updated by a wonderful woman, Cecilia So, and I want everybody to tune in to WAM Matrix, www.amatrix.com. We have a fantastic retreat coming up November 3rd to 5th with some great people. June Gould is going to be there. Ivy Anderson, Hilton is going to be there. Leslie Neustadt is going to be doing a classic poetry workshop. And we have Jenny Scavuzzo, who's doing alcohol ink art. It's a wonderful time, and really tune in because it's our 8th anniversary, and I'm inviting all of you to come to Skidmore and Saratoga Springs and join us at this weekend, November 3rd to 5th, Matrix.com.
Thank you, Dorothy Randall Gray.
And thank you, Marj. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, International Women's Writing Guild, because you have been a major inspiration to my life for over 25 years. And I am so grateful to be a part of this organization and know that we're going strong and gotten even stronger over these past fiscal year. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dorothy. All right, Kelly, I'm passing the baton back to you. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to move our people in and out of attendee panelist, okay?
Yes. Okay.
Dorothy, moving you to attendee.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marj, for that wonderful interview and reading with Dorothy. I think that there was a lot of appreciation going on in the chat room for Dorothy's talk. And as we could see, there were an awful lot of questions coming in for her. So that was wonderful. Right now, I'm going to welcome back Hope Player as well and Dixie King. This is the portion of our call that it's, I believe, 5:30 Eastern right now, exactly. And between now and 6 p.m. Eastern, we are going to talk about membership in the International Women's Writing Guild. And then we also have some dear friends that I believe are also here in the webinar that we're going to be calling on, first of which will be Heather Cariou. But I'm going to turn it over to you first, Dixie and Hope, to tell our participants on the call who aren't members what it means to be a member in International Women's Writing Guild. And if they want to join, how can they join?
Well, there's a lot of reason to join, and one is simply to get the opportunity to be a little more closely connected. Our membership traditionally has always offered very significant discounts at our in-person events, so our regional conferences and our summer conference. In addition, it gives you access to our members-only Facebook room, which is an opportunity for, again, ongoing. People share writing prompts, people share what's going on in their lives, in their writing lives, and support each other there. That's always a great opportunity. But also here, I think going forward, membership is going to be offering significant discounts in Digital Village offerings, because we are going to be offering a variety of different kinds of programs, many of which will have a cost attached simply because we believe in paying our instructors. What a concept, huh? When you're a writer, to actually get paid for something. But we do think that that's a pretty important thing. So we will be charging in the future for at least some of our Digital Village offerings. And so membership is going to provide a discount for that. But, Hope, you talked a little bit when you were first talking about your new role as co-executive director about what the Guild had meant for you, but what have been some of the benefits of membership just from your own perspective?
Getting to meet all of you and being able to spend time with you, working so closely together is so much fun. The connections, I think, is hands down for me what I enjoy the most. Being able to go to the regional conferences. I was in Erie, Pennsylvania, and last weekend. With our regional there and the Spring Big Apples, and being able to make that connection one-on-one. Like I said, I'm a business writer, so I'm learning to operate in all these other genres, and I get to, everything I go to, I learn something new. I get to sit next to a person that I would have never had a reason to meet because of this organization, and it is just so much fun.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? That's probably the best part, is the fun we have along with the support we get. Yeah, that combination is pretty spectacular. One of the things we're talking about doing, I know, during Digital Village is basically teaching people how to set up virtual writing groups, maybe doing some book clubs and some other creative opportunities to get together in ways that support our writing, but basically support our networking and our friendships as well. Do you have anything you wanted to add about that?
Yeah, I think that's going to be very important, because for so many years the Guild has been focused on our summer conference, because that is where we've had the most fun. And with our Digital Village and our regional conferences, we can now have those interpersonal connections, so that it doesn't have to be just a once a year event. For many of those, particularly our international women who may not be able to join us. So I'm really excited about this. Our membership right now is $55. And from now until the end of December, we're going to be, as we roll out our Digital Village offerings, they're going to be free for members as we go through the end of the year. So for $55, if you are a non-member, you can join, and then you can get all of these webinars for free as well as an introductory offer. At introductory rates, we feel that's a $25 value per webinar. We have two now between the end of the year, and I believe it's Jan Phillips is going to be doing one in December, and Maureen Murdoch is going to be doing one in November. So Marj will tell you more about those. But for the price of membership, you get the two free webinars between now and the end of the year. I think I hope that will be a marvelous incentive. We have conferences coming up in the spring. You mentioned the regional conferences before. So,
and Hope, one of the things that Jan isn't here to say because of her internet connection is that the Livingkindness Foundation, of which she is the president, is offering 5 memberships to women of color from around the world who might otherwise not be able to afford membership. And she is asking that you send her, and we'll put the, in the chat room, we'll put her address, but asking you to send her before the end of this month, so by November 1st, a 100-word statement about why membership in the Guild is important to you. So if you're coming from another country and $55 US is a significant amount of money for you and really prohibitive, please feel free to send in a request. And we do have scholarships that are offered. So if you're in a position where you're in a very limited budget, but you desperately would like the membership, we can't promise that we can meet every request, but certainly do put in a request to us at IWWG questions .gmail, right, or at gmail.com rather, and we'll do our best to try to assist.
And we have many members who have been so touched by the Guild that they have offered to buy gift memberships. Some of them for specific people, but some of them would just say, here's an additional contribution for a woman who would like to be a member of this organization who might not otherwise be able to. So that's very important. And one of the things, if you are already a member, we've got so many new things rolling out right now. The Digital Village is just one. We have our new website. We've got some a prize competition coming up that Dixie will talk about in a minute. There's so many things going on, but we also have, as part of our new website, a new membership directory profile. So that if you are a member, I want you to do 2 things. Log in and go to your profile. Make sure that your membership is current. If you so feel the need, to give us, you can at that moment donate a gift membership. And also to double check everything on your membership profile, because that information is now available to the members within our organization, so that you can go in and they can click on your name and they can see your contact information, anything you want to be public. You have, it's your choices for your privacy settings, that they can see your website, your photo, stuff that you're working on right now, your bio, and some information on, okay, good, thank you, Kelly, so that you can see what is going on with other folks. This is something we've talked about for a while, and we're excited that we can now do this, but it also takes you to come in and make sure your information is updated. So please, please, please do that. A lot of exciting things going on. As you can see, everybody is listed. And I think Kelly will go to hers.
Right, and I think these are all people who have settings that allow for us to publicly see the name. You, again, as Hope said, have complete control over your privacy settings.
Right.
This is a great opportunity. We are always getting requests. You know, I really want to hear more about Kelly DuMar's playwriting opportunities. How do I get hold of her? Well, Kelly allows us to give out her email address, but you can go in and actually see Kelly's profile and get that information directly online and find out a little bit more about what she's doing. So you can see here, if you're already a member, edit your member profile is an option. And you can click on that and include what you're, as Hope said, what you're working on, what your publications are, what your website address is, if you have a blog, anything like that. This is your opportunity to be heard.
So just one more member benefit as far as making these connections. So many times we've been asked, it's like, can we get a list of the participants and stuff? Well, now we have access to all of this information. So please, you know, as a member, please go in and update your information. And if you're not a member, we do hope that you will join us and take advantage of the conferences, the digital village, and all of the things that we're going to be rolling out over the next year. It's an exciting time to be a member of the Guild.
Yeah, it is. If you are not ready for membership yet, and that's fine. If you're not, you're still able to come onto our website. You're still able to catch up on news. There will be some activities and events that you will be able to participate in Digital Village, certainly as an attendee for things like our open mic readings. And we can talk a little bit more about that later. But in order to speak at our open mic readings, you have to be a member. But as an audience member, you do not. So that's an opportunity for you to hear what's going on and see a little bit more about the folks who are involved. Okay, oh, Boston, you notice Kelly is controlling this. Kelly is advertising our Boston retreat already, which is going to be April 28th. We have another one, our Spring Big Apple is going to be, is it April 14th, Hope, I think?
April 14th in New York City, correct.
Yeah, we're about to put that one up. We're hopefully January for Los Angeles. I'm still nailing down the dates on that one. So we have a lot of fun stuff coming up. And we're going to be trying to do some events around, for those of you in Florida or nearby, we're going to be at the Association of Writers and Writing Programs, the AWP conference, which brings in about 12,000 writers from around the world. It's going to be held in Tampa, Florida this year. We were so happy that Tampa is still on the map after all of the excitement with the hurricanes. But it is going to be held in Tampa. It's going to be held the second week of March, and it's an incredible opportunity to go to a lot of great workshops through AWP, but we will have a booth there, and we'll also have some activities going on there at the same time, and we're hoping maybe to do a regional conference affiliated or close to that. So all of that is in the works. We'll be getting information out to you as soon as we have it. I know we have some folks who are willing to give some testimonials. I think I see Heather Cariou on the screen. Hi, Heather. Is this a good time, Hope, to introduce Heather?
I think so. Heather, lovely to see your smiling face. Glad you're here with us.
See all of you. Really exciting.
Great. We just need to volume up a little.
Hi, Heather. Kelly here. It's so good to see you. You look terrific. Thanks for joining the call. And thanks for agreeing, because you're certainly in our advisory circle, or you've been around here forever. You've been one of our biggest cheerleaders and supporters. You are a foundational member of the Guild. We so appreciate all the efforts that you've given to the Guild over the years. So I know we were excited to feature you as someone who would be willing to share for 2 minutes about what does the Guild mean to you? Why are you here? How does it sustain your writing life? What does it add?
I joined the Guild when I was 32 and I'm now 65. So I've been there as many years as a workshop participant at the Big Apples and almost every summer at the summer conferences. I participated as a board member for 20 years. Recently, I've been back to the summer conferences as a workshop leader. So just from that, I think you can see how the Guild has really supported my growth in that way. The Guild has really shaped me as a writer for sure, but first and foremost, it's really shaped me as a person. I have two words that I think describe what I get out of the Guild more than anything, and those are witnessing and companionship. And the companionship is more that I've been mentored by such incredible workshop leaders over the years. I've made lifelong friends, really important friends. And what I found is that in my own family sometimes, or whatever communities I've lived in or participated in, often there aren't people necessarily who see appreciate the world as I see it, let's put it that way, as a writer. And Guild members, Guild sisters for me, help me to find the words to serve my vision. It's a safe place for me to come and write what I need to write. It's, a lot of us, especially in the beginning, will go to friends or family members and say, hey, listen to what I just wrote. And it's probably mostly not a good idea because they don't really know necessarily where you're coming from, or they've got a personal stake in what you're writing. The wonderful thing about being a member of the Guild is you always have someone there who will witness your writing for you, who will listen, who will always cheerlead you and tell you you're wonderful, but they'll also give you honest and compassionate literary criticism.
Yeah.
And if you want to advance yourself as a writer, whether you want to publish or not, you just want to write better for your own sense of self and enjoyment. You always want that kind of feedback that's going to lead you in that direction. I think the Guild has given me very much a stronger sense of myself, a deeper appreciation of social justice, and a deeper understanding really of what it means to be human. And as much as I've written there, so I wrote and published a memoir, and which really launched me on a career as a writer. I can call myself a writer, which I didn't sort of feel I could before I came to the Guild. I've lost my train of thought. There's really something important I wanted to say here, and I've got my notes. So I won't forget, because
take your time.
Yeah. It's about the witnessing. That's really what it is. The listening and the witnessing. It's not so much what I've written, but what the other women have written that I've been able to witness, that I've been privileged to listen to. Just changed my being, changed my way of thinking a lot, changed my aspirations for the way I want to write. You hear somebody and you go, oh God, I want to write like that. How do I do that? So it's really the witnessing and being witnessed, I think, that has been the strongest thing for me, and maybe one of the strongest elements of membership in the Guild.
Oh. Heather, I just have to pop in here and say I took your class at Drew on Standing in Your Own Truth. And I will tell you, I've had many classes that have changed the course of my writing or inspired my writing in really phenomenal ways. That course of yours broke me open. And everything that has changed in my life, and there's been a ton of it in the last 5 years, I date back to what came out of that class. So I have to thank you so much for what was an incredible experience and continues to have an impact on my life.
Well, thank you, Dixie. And I could say the same for myself about in past years being in June Gould's class, or Eunice, or Dorothy's, or Marj. I mean, we have so many incredible workshop leaders and more to come on board, I'm sure. So this is what's possible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's just so lovely to see you, and thank you for joining us and giving that wonderful testimonial.
My great pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Let us see if Morgan Lett is available.
Morgan, it's Marj. I'm going to be promoting you to panelists, which means that we'll be able to see and hear you. There'll be a couple seconds delay.
Yay, Morgan. How exciting.
So, Morgan, I'm going to unmute you. You need to turn on your video in the lower left-hand corner. There should be an icon to the right of the mic. There you are.
There I am.
Hi, where are you, Morgan?
Hi. Hey, everyone.
Are you outdoors?
Yeah, I actually just graduated from a holistic wellness program. So I'm outside in our bamboo garden.
Oh, really cool. Really cool. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Congratulations on graduating from the wellness program. That's terrific too. Thank you so much for finding a way to tune in and talk to us for a minute about what the IWWG, what does membership mean to you? How does it enhance your writing life? Why are you here?
Okay, well, I stumbled upon IWWG last April, and it just so happened that the Spring Big Apple Conference was going on at the same time that I had business meetings in the city. So I came. I never thought of myself as a writer, never thought of myself as a poet, but something about the guild spirit just drew me in. And when I went to the conference in New York in April, I was so overwhelmed with love, so overwhelmed with acceptance that I felt like I was home. And I signed up for an open mic reading and read a poem that Myra actually taught in her workshop. And just the spirit of sisterhood and acceptance flowed through me as I spoke. And afterwards, Dixie reached out to me and said, you know, we do have a scholarship program. If you're interested in attending the conference, please sign up. So I did. And that was the best decision that I could have ever made as a writer, because the Guild has changed my life. Kelly has changed my life. I participated in the monologue as memoir program, and it sent me on a evolution of words. So many words have continued to swirl through me. I feel comfortable saying that I'm a writer. I've been supported in my path. Kelly continues to support and mentor me in my journey as a writer, as a woman, and as a poet. And I can't say enough how much of community that there is in the Guild, and how important it is as a writer to have support and guidance, especially when you're young and you're starting, to know which way to go and to build your confidence. So for that, I am grateful.
Thank you so much, Morgan. I mean, it's really been an honor to have you at our conferences. You've contributed so much. So I'm delighted to hear that you've really received because you've also really given. All right. In our workshops, and I want you to know that we really, that is that kind of reciprocality, reciprocity that we really feel with each other. It's wonderful. So congratulations again, and thank you so much for your kind words and for coming and letting us know how the Guild has impacted your life.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, Morgan, I'm going to move you back into the attendee zone, and I'm going to be moving Deborah Staunton, our next testimonial giver, into panelist mode. Just a couple seconds delay, Deborah. I will be able to, here you are. Deborah, I'm unmuting you. If you could turn on, there you are.
Hi.
Hi, Deborah. Welcome. So glad that you were able to join us, and just so pleased and delighted that as a member, you were open to sharing a little bit about what membership has meant to you, Deborah, in your writing life or in any aspect of your life.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words because it's such an overwhelming experience. I have been a part of the IWWG for almost 17 years. And I remember walking into my first Big Apple conference a little nervous and wondering if I belonged in this room full of real writers. And at the end of the day, I walked out as one of those real writers. But the Guild has given me such beautiful gifts in terms of enhancing and improving my writing, but also it has profoundly affected me as a person. It gave me permission not only to be a writer, but to be myself. And a lot of women walk around uncomfortable with being themselves. I was one of them, and the Guild really validated me in speaking my truth and honoring my truth and honoring the truth of everybody else that was there. It's something that nobody understands unless they're part of it. You can't really explain it to someone else. And I can't imagine who I would be if I didn't have these last 17 years with the Guild. I would not be the writer I am. I would not be the woman I am. And I'm super, super grateful for that. So thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Deborah. That was really beautifully said. And really, really appreciate your being willing to come online and share that with all of us. So lovely to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marj, have we got one more person, or has that? Okay, great. So then, Marj, what we want to do now is spend a couple of minutes before the open mic giving a very brief preview. I want to thank all our wonderful testimonial people who came on to give them. They're fabulous. And would you like to share a little bit? I'll pull up the website again, and perhaps you'd be willing to give us a little bit of a preview of coming events in the Digital Village Open House. But Hope?
Yeah, just one quick thing about the prizes, competitions, Dixie.
Oh, sure. Actually, while Hope's pulling up the website, I can do a quick few seconds on the contest. There's not a lot to tell yet, except the most important part, which is that we will be offering literary contests starting after the first of the year. They'll open on March 1st, but guidelines and other information will be available hopefully in January. We honored 3 of our long-term workshop leaders who have, I think 2 of the 3 have been part of our board. All have been major contributors in many, many ways to the Guild over the years. But we honored Myra Shapiro in poetry, Pat Carr in short fiction, and Susan Tiberghien in creative nonfiction. And we are going to be offering prizes in each of those areas, $250 each. We will be opening up those through Submissible, and that will be again after March 1st. And we're just really excited and enthusiastic to be able to do that. Once we announced the contest, Jan Phillips stepped up to the plate also and said Livingkindness Foundation will offer a $250 contest prize to an art and activism essay contest, basically, to a woman of color. And so we have 4 prizes that we will be offering after the first of the year. We're just really, really excited to bring those up. So please stay tuned. You'll be getting emails from us. As Marj likes to say, please do open our emails. You never know what you're going to miss if you don't. And you'll be hearing about the opening of those contests by email and through our website.
Marj, thank you so much, Dixie. You are up to talk about coming events.
Yeah, I just want to say, too, to tag onto what Dixie just said, you're going to notice more emails in your inbox, but they're going to be more targeted. We actually think that will feel more efficient for you rather than scrolling through emails full of multiple pieces of data. So that's our intention behind that. Yeah, so for Digital Village, Hope already mentioned that in November, Maureen Murdoch is going to be delivering a webinar in the first week or so. We haven't nailed down the date, but it'll be before November 10th. She'll be doing a 9-minute webinar called Memoirists and the Hazards and Rewards of Revealing Family Members. The hazards and rewards. I find that fascinating. Both. And then Jan Phillips on December 10th will be giving a webinar, 90 minutes again. The yin and yang of the writer's life, finding balance between the spiritual and the material. That webinar is already on our events page if you want to sign up. As Hope already said, they're both free to members, which means that if you're a non-member for $55, you'll get those 2 webinars, which are a $25 value. They'll be free for you. It's a good deal. You'll also get in your annual membership, just a reminder, a weekly writing prompt. Thank God it's Free Write Day. Writing prompt, also participation in our private Facebook group, IWWG Members Room. We're also going to be doing a monthly open mic. The reader slots are open only to members, although non-members, we invite you to come as listeners. Members too, come as listeners. And Dixie, I'm sorry, we're also going to be launching writing groups. Book club groups per genre. And Dixie, will you talk about your multi-session class you're planning for 2018?
Yeah, sometime in late winter, I'm going to be offering I haven't decided whether it's going to be 4 weeks or 6 weeks yet, but it's going to be a class on love, hate, coming to peace, and it's embodied women writing about our bodies. And so I welcome is there a woman out there who hasn't had body issues? Anybody who would actually like to write about that or who has written about that, that's going to be an opportunity to do some very targeted writing around embodiment and our relationship with our bodies. And I do have a question for you, Marj. Are we set up on registration right now so that anyone who's not a member can sign up for Jan's workshop for the $25 fee, or have we actually opened the registration up yet for paying non-members?
Well, that is a great question, because, yeah, I have to get that handled. I actually think that it's set up for everybody right now.
Ooh, okay.
My apologies. You know, this is the beauty of growing an organization and things sort of cross-firing. I will get that handled, y'all.
We're handling everything very organically as we go here. Poor Marj, I called her yesterday the woman with 1,000 arms and 3 heads, which is about what you need to manage all the moving parts of this process right now. And I noticed that Hope's cat has joined us. So, you know, we are open. We have no prejudices. We are open, as long as she's a she.
Meet Angel Josephine.
Very good.
So thank you so much for giving us that wonderful preview.
There's more, 2 more things. Forgive me. January 2018, our webinar will be with Patricia Bell Scott discussing a book she wrote called The Firebrand and the First Lady, Portrait of a Friendship, that friendship being between African-American activist Pauli Murray and First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. And we're going to be having in 2018 a webinar of submissions, how to get your words out and into the world, also website development for writers. So we're addressing craft, we're addressing the business of being a writer, all of that.
Thank you, Marj. Okay. Well, you are going to, what help do you need from us? We're going to actually transition now into the All Voices open mic, which we're really excited about because we're going to get to hear from the participants on the call who are ready to share their 3 minutes of writing in our new Digital Village All Voices open mic.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I'm going to first give a brief overview of protocol. I sent all of you an email, but to remind you that your 3 minutes includes your introductory remarks if you have any. Your 3 minutes can include multiple pieces, 1 piece, 2 pieces, whatever fills 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I'm going to give you a 1 minute warning with 1 toot on the harmonica. At 3 minutes, I'll give you 2 toots. And if you could at that point finish the sentence that you're currently reading, that would be great. And what I'm going to do is read the list of readers. Not everyone may actually be on the call. Something might have come up, and I will cross that bridge when we get to it. If I mispronounce your name, please repeat your name when you get on the onto the screen, or on, you know, when I make your audio audible. And what that means is I'll be moving you from attendee mode to panelist mode, and I will let you know when we start seeing and hearing you. So here's the list. I will also say, for the person who's next in line, I will say so-and-so on deck. That means you're sort of in the batter's box of the list. Get ready, you'll be next, and then I'll announce the name of the person who's up pronto. So here's the list of readers. Elizabeth Bodine, Lisa St. John, Susan Jestal Hagen, Morgan Lett, Pavlina Gadakova, Katerina Konen, Marissa Mox Unger, Karen Leahy, Patricia Flaherty Pagan, Heidi Rain, Deborah Staunton, Linda Albert, and Marie Claude Arnaud. So, Lisa St. John, you're on deck, and I'm now going to move Elizabeth Bodine into panelist mode. If any of you have any questions, please talk to us via the chat room, and Kelly, that would be helpful for me if you attend to the chat room. Thanks. So I got to scroll through your names here. I'm promoting you, Elizabeth Bodine, and it just takes a moment. I'm going to unmute you, Elizabeth. If you want to be seen, if your camera has your computer has a camera, go to the lower left-hand corner of your screen and click on the video. It says stop video or start video. There should be a red line through it right now. Can we hear you, Elizabeth? Elizabeth, I've unmuted you, but we can't hear you. Okay, now I'm gonna, yeah, Elizabeth, you are unmuted, so there might be an issue with your speaker. What I'm gonna do is move you back into attendee mode. If you could figure out what may be your technological snafu, and I won't forget about you. Susan Jestel Hagen, you're on deck. And Lisa St. John, I'll be moving you into panelist. So Lisa St. John, I'm moving you into panelist. And it always takes a couple seconds. Here you are. I'm going to unmute you, Lisa. There you are. So Lisa, I have to set up my phone, my other device here to time you. Give me 1 second. Whoops. All right. You ready, Lisa? Let's hear you.
Okay, I'm Lisa St. John. You can read more at lisastjohnblog.com. 2 poems. A Contract of Dimension. Breaking the contract of dimension, I become small as the purple coneflower, Echinacea purpurea, welcomer of bees and butterflies, moths and birds. It is a mother plant, a giver. All is edible, all leaves, all petals. Like Alice, I drink it, drink the possibility of surrender. I hear the marvelous thud of honeybees, at this scale, a thump. Hurricane breezes and dewdrop rainstorms, no match against the fibrous strength of wings. I am alive in their harmonious cacophony when wasp intruders, ignoring the hum, shove and steal, slick candy-striped yellow uniform shining defiance. I'm bound to the contract, and in eating the cake of ferocity, I grow again to swat the wasp onto the furred peppermint plant below. This geometry of pollen, this fragrant orchestra, again becomes a whisper. This is an ekphrastic poem about Michelangelo's Pietà. Her gentle face, eyelids crushed forever downward, holds in the gasping sob that is her heart. One hand rapt, one hand questioning, she breathes from the womb. No thought is left. It is only desire and death, as always. Merciful pity, if one could be so redundant, has left no words for the mouth or mind, only salt. Mary, your folds envelop so much more than your son. You are the eternal lack, a vestigial icon of femaleness. How many goddesses died as whores to make room for you? How many crones cried for the death of blood as birth, as power? Your sheer spiritual circumference brings my tears. Marble Majesty, did he cry as he found you underneath the chisel sound? Did he know who he unearthed? You are of stone, you are of splendor. You, mother of all mothers, are my secret pagan queen. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa St. John. That was Lisa St. John. Moving you back into attendee mode, Lisa.
Hey.
Thank you. Morgan Lett, you're on deck. And I'm going to now be bringing Susan Jesdal Hagen into the panelist area. Couple seconds here, Susan. And there you are. I'm going to unmute you, Susan. Let's hear your volume.
Hello.
Susan, your volume's great. If you want to be seen, lower left-hand corner, click on the video.
Okay.
Okay?
Do I have to sign in or?
Nope. If you may not have a camera on your computer or a working camera, or your general global computer settings there might be something on your end, but.
Yeah, I had my tech check and we couldn't find it, so.
Okay, you're fine. Your name is big on my screen, and I'm gonna start the timer, and you let me know when you're ready. This is Susan Jesdal Hagen.
A poem. Little girl at the funeral. Where are you now, walking around in a daze? Where are you now, walking around in a daze? Mother, mother, I know you're here. Somewhere I know you're here. She's got to be here. Mother, mother, where are you? Nobody talks to me, mother. They just stare, mommy. I need you here. Don't leave me. I feel so alone. I need your arms around me. They won't let me cry. They won't let me miss you. What do I do? What do I do, mommy? Little girl, little girl. I saw you in that pretty box. I don't want you to be there. Mommy, this is not funny. I'm scared, mommy. I'm scared. Little girl, little girl. A short essay about my memoir. Repressed or delayed grief is different and far more complicated when it comes out of other deaths years later. There were times in the day and night when I would sob, trying to calm myself, telling myself this has to stop. I can't take anymore. I can't do another funeral or take another phone call. There have only been a few people along the way who saw me and understood my passion to learn what was happening and causing me so much pain, as it could consume me at a moment's notice. However, I was brave enough to not give up, as I often felt like I was a square peg trying to fit in a round hole as I could ask God for help. I was a young girl whose mother died, living in a community where I definitely didn't fit into the norm. I was in a class of all boys, 99% of the time, and through all my elementary years and part of 7th grade. Moved to Las Vegas, where I found girls and boys my age who liked me. My early life set me adrift without oars when my mother died. No one caught me before I fell victim to the world around me. I know my dad was devastated too, as it was so tragic with what happened. I took my mom to the hospital in a nearby town and was told she had the flu and would be fine. Within minutes of his coming back home, the hospital called and told him she had died. After going to see her in the funeral home and her funeral, she was never mentioned in her house again that I can remember. Forced to hide my feelings for years. My father had always been my hero, and now he was so sad. He was a World War II veteran, and I was so proud of him. He had such a nice smile, but so stoic. Cancer and died when I was 29. He went in the hospital the night I had my first child, my son. I never knew Dad was there dying until the morning it was time for me to go home a few days later, to shut the door on any questions I might ever have. 7 years after my father's death was like I took a bite out of a bad apple, and people close to me, related to me or my husband, began dying, and most of them were sudden deaths. They were taken so fast that the soldier could maintain her emotional numbness that had been set in place 20 years ago. Death was always knocking at my door, and I started to believe I was unlucky or a bad person. I wondered how I would cope with all this as a child with three deaths. The numbness was gone. Guns as an adult were ravaging me with fear. It was a wrestling match, as I did not want to feel this pain, and I tried hard to not let it consume me. The thought took me on a journey. It continued for many years of healing from the deaths and the struggles and the fears. I hope my writing will help others to know they are not alone like I was, as the later repressed grief is not always accepted as being real.
Thank you, Susan. That was Susan Jesdal Hagen. I'm going to move you back into attendee mode. Thank you for participating in our All Voices Open mic. Elizabeth Bodine, I'm going to put you on deck. It looks like you may have resolved your audio issues. And Morgan Lett, you're on, and I'm going to move you back to panelist mode and see if you're still in your garden. No, I think Morgan went to do some more holistic healing practice. Morgan, if you are on the call and I'm missing you, please write in the chat room. Pavlina Gatakova, you're on deck, and I'm bringing Elizabeth Bodine back on. Elizabeth, promoting you to panelist. We'll hear you. All right, I'm unmuting you, Elizabeth. Let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, and thanks to all the wonderful organizers of this digital village gathering. And my name is Elizabeth Bodine, and I'm coming in from rural eastern Pennsylvania, USA. I would like to read a poem, the subject of which deals with the digital electronic world we live in these days, including cell phones. So this poem is to honor this new digital venture. The poem itself, however, was inspired by what Alexander Pope wrote way back in the 1700s as part of his long narrative poem, The Rape of the Lock. In that poem, Belinda sits at her dressing table getting ready for the day. But here is my poem called Apps, which is written, as was Pope's, in heroic couplets. Apps. See how she pulls from a pocket deep in her purse her own consultant high-tech universe. And now, unveiled, her world limbs up displayed, each flickering app in glorious order laid. Her tunes, her pics, her stars, road maps, the news, and things like calculators she can use. Such magic treasures at her fingertip, she sits, unchallenged, sole chairwomanship. This Pythia seeks out voices from beyond, and then decides to which she will respond. By email, tweet, or text, or even voice, she revels in the fact she has this choice. Her smart contraption gives back sight and sound, and answers to all questions that confound. Although this gadget, too frequently employed, might make those nearby thoroughly annoyed. Thank you.
Oh, Elizabeth?
Yes?
That was your 1 minute warning.
Right, but I was trying to get in ahead of the harmonica.
Oh, you were right on it. Well done. Well done. Thank you, Elizabeth Bodine.
Thank you.
Katerina Konen, you're on deck, and I'm now going to bring Pavlina Gatakova into the panelist area as our next reader. All right, Pavlina, I am promoting you to panelist. Couple seconds delay. All right, unmuting you, Pavlina. You want to be seen? you want to turn on, there you are. Hi, Pavlina. So Pavlina, your volume, yeah.
Can you hear me okay or not?
Beautiful. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Pavlina Gadakova.
So I'm going to read 2 poems. The first one is called The Thing to Keep. My mother and I spent a week at Contessa Czech Guest House on the 3rd floor in a honeymoon suite named after Raffaella. Monstera Deliciosa rises out of a corner with its leaves like a peacock that fans its feathers out in a courtship ritual. We're dazzled by it, who doesn't speak, yet gazes upon us with its heart-shaped leaves. The baby leaves have a face of a whole heart, their skin glistening and smooth, like my cousin's 1-year-old daughter Belle. Their stems stretch to the height of the sill to flirt with the morning fill of the sunlight. The grown-up leaves don't stay complete. The splits and holes tear its insides. Why? Could it be to see and feel other ways to be? As I left my mother 17 years ago to break my own ground, I swayed away from her ways only to come back and peer through the slits and holes at what I left behind. Tired, after a day of sightseeing, my 67-year-old mother lies on her side, the bottom of her summer dress ruffled, so that a strip of her white panties seeps through, the eyelids lower, and she leaps into sleep as her breath grows deep. I lay my eyes on her like a thief who found the thing to keep. And the second poem is an ekphrastic called Johanna Studio in 1991, after a Polaroid transfer. You dream as you stand with your back to black. What if the grass is greener on the other side? Eyes closed, your chin breaches the dark. Your head tilts away from the light that lands and unfolds on the runway of your body. Your nipples pierce the page. Your shoulders shed shadows of the past. You're done with at last. Your head floats in clouds, the peeled emotion left behind, together with the dreams of green you hold for us.
Thank you, Pavlina. That was Pavlina Gadakova. I'm going to move you back into attendee mode, Pavlina. And I want to tell, before I do that, Pavlina, I want you to be able to hear me. Folks, if you read, do check the chat room, scroll back up into it, because your sisters are leaving you acknowledgments. Marissa Mox Unger, you're on deck. And I'm going to now move Katerina Konen into reader mode. And there she is. Promoting you to panelist. Katerina, I'm unmuting you. If you want to be seen, click on your, there, here you go. Let's hear.
Okay, good. Can you hear me?
Yep, excellent.
Good, okay.
Yeah, this
All
is
right.
Katerina Konen.
The Narrows. I used to picture English as a place where I could write without parental interference, like the attic of the house where I grew up, or like the lockable diary my mother gave me when I turned 7. But lately I see it as a torch, a beam to light up passageways kept dark and mute in childhood words, like the gap between half-timbered houses across the street from where I grew up, which opened into a kind of alley paved in patches of crumbling asphalt and barely wide enough for a single car. Enger Weg, the Narrows, the street sign bolted to the timbers declared in broken white letters enameled on dark blue. The Narrows flowed downhill towards our house, like a patchwork river of potholes. Steps leading to front doors jutted like jetties into a stone-frozen current. Sometimes I climbed those steps just for fun on the downhill journey from school to home. In the mornings, though, I slogged upstream, against gravity, against my will. The school at the top of the Narrows had been my father's school and my Aunt Agnes's school. While my classmates struggled to add and divide, I scanned the floorboards for knotholes. Aunt Agnes's teacher squeaked across those same boards on Monday mornings as he made children who had attended Sunday Mass raise their hand. He then lined them up at the front of class to pepper them with rapid-fire arithmetic. Agnes, like all the other Catholic kids, would calculate until she got one wrong. Then she'd extend her hand, palm up, and he would cane her fingers until they bled. My father didn't make it to arithmetic. On day 1 of school, he learned how to extend his right hand diagonally upward, how to hold his fingers in a stiff extension of his downturned palm, and how to yell Heil Hitler at the top of his lungs. On day 2, bombs fell and school closed. In grade 4, my teacher talked about city gas and how it fed the heater below the window so that we could be warm. Look at the pilot flame, he'd say. As long as that is burning, we know there is no leak. Another teacher taught how Jewish children, just as old as we were now, went into chambers that looked like showers, and when the gas began to flow, they breathed it in and choked to death. For the remainder of 4th grade, I stared at the blue pilot flame, teaching myself to hold my breath, out, not in, until the pothole river would carry me back down the Enger Weg. The German eng descended from the Greek achein, which means to strangulate. But narrow is a Middle English word, a cognate to the German Narbe, which means scar. Thank you.
Thank you, Katerina Konen. Going to move you back into attendee mode, Katerina.
Thank you, Marj.
Thank you. And Karen Leahy, I don't see your name in the list, but I do see that there is someone whose device name is shown up in the list. So FYI, if you participate in future webinars with us and somehow your device name is what shows up in the list, you always can use the chat room to say, hey, I'm here. But I don't see you, Karen Leahy. So Patricia Flaherty-Pagan, you're on deck. And I'm going to bring Marisa Mox Unger into the room to read. All right, hang on. There she is. All right, promoting you to panelist, Marisa. All right, Marisa, I've unmuted you. If you want to be seen and you have a camera on your computer, click on the computer lower left-hand corner of your screen. We can hear you, Marisa.
Start video, yeah.
Yeah, start
there.
Video.
Yay! Okay, here I am.
All right, Marisa. This is Marisa Mox Unger.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lanterns over Lido. They were there, hovering, incandescent above the ebb tide, stirring, living sparks, twice lit by flame and moonlight. One by one, lifted on the Gulf breezes. Vesta herself may have swept them into the air, lilting along, souls of fire in paper frames, lanterns lifting from 8 to 10 to 2, passing celestial dials into the night, marked by the rising of Jupiter, the Little Dipper, the setting of Mars, into the heavens, into night's moth-eaten veil. And my final poem is She is Ocean, for our guild sister, Sandy Ballant. From my window, I view the master as she begins her day with a graceful bow to all that is powerful and knowing and unending. With raised fist, she strikes a pose and circles as her arms furrow, then arc, then crest. Flowing in a deep bow, she lowers her knees, then slowly and gently she stands, lifts her torso, and waves hands like clouds touching whitecaps. She is ocean, and in her I see the beauty of the sea. Her fluid hands reach into the air that stirs the waves. She is ocean, and now with one leg raised, then lowered, she is swimming in deep waters and turns, sweeping side to side. She churns the currents of energy as waves unfurl through her, from her, beyond her. She wards off all tension, all anger, all fear. I inhale and her serenity washes over me. And I know she is ocean. She is ocean. She is ocean. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Marisa Mox Unger. Marisa, putting you into attendee mode. And Karen Leahy, you follow instructions beautifully. She showed up in the chat room. I'm here. She is under the K we love. So I should have known the K we love, the Karen we love. Patricia Flaherty Pagan, you are on deck. And I'm going to bring Karen Leahy in the position she signed up for. Karen, I'm unmuting you. If you want to be seen, click on the start video in the lower left-hand corner of your screen.
Hi, Marj.
Hi. Do you want to?
I don't think I'll get video right now. Can I just read, please?
Of course. This is Karen Leahy.
Oh, I just saw the video come in.
The K we love.
There we go.
Okay.
Let's see if we get me.
Yes, we got
any
you.
luck?
We got you.
Okay, here I am. I'm going to read 3 poems. You want to start timer?
Yes.
Okay. First is Don't Come In for David. After school, we always walk home and get a snack before we figure out what to do with all the wide hours before bed. But today, the door closes on us. Don't come in, we're told. We sit on the porch steps, afraid of what it means not to be allowed into your own home. No one tells us our mother is dead, that she died with only the parish visitor there. I reach for my sister's hand. I am too big to hold hands, but today I don't care. She is older, and I hope she is braver than me. Somehow it seems wrong that the red and gold leaves dropping down around us from the old maple tree are so beautiful today. The second is called Sophia. I first met her near the bulk food bins. While her grandma conferred with older brother about cereals, she and I exchanged glances. I made a silly face at her and knew I had met a kindred spirit when she gave one back. Black curly hair, maybe 2 years old, content in her stroller. They moved on toward bread, but later, near hot soups to go, she said hi as I passed, as though all it took to be a friend was our private funny faces. She told me her name, Sophia. Now, holding the ancient cat on my lap, the storm spitting rain at my window, Sophia's bright spirit hovers, a blessing that rearranges the lines of today's everydayness into something beautiful. And the last one is one I read at last summer's workshop called Galaxy's Darling. Every day is Earth Day, a birthday, so much being born, the seed to the flower to the fruit, the seed and the egg to the offspring, life we don't earn unless we learn that air too needs care, needs tending in daily deeds so the true blue beauty we seem not to see will live, will last. Our fertile earth is worth 1,000 sterile stars. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Karen Leahy. And Karen, before I move you to panelist, to attendee, I want to remind you again and the readers before you, people are acknowledging you in the chat room. That you all in these all voice open mics, always such good listeners, pointing out lines that landed for you right there in the chat room. Beautiful. All right, Karen, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. And Heidi Rain, you're on deck. And I'm bringing in Patricia Flaherty Pagan as our next reader. And Patricia Flaherty Pagan, if you're here, I don't see your name in the list. You may be like the K We Love listed under something else. So just let us know in the chat room if you're here. Deborah Staunton, you're on deck. And I'm going to bring you in, Heidi Rain. Promoting Heidi Rain to panelist. And she's coming. She's running through the e-space. Heidi? Huh. There you are. I'm unmuting you, Heidi. And if you want to be seen.
Oh, okay.
We can hear you. If you want to be seen, if you have a camera on your computer, you can click on Start Video in the lower left-hand corner of your screen.
Got it. Thank you, Marj. Got it.
So welcome. And I will say this is Heidi Rain.
Thank you.
I can hear you, Heidi. Let me know when you're ready to start.
Okay, I just want to say it's so great to see all these beautiful faces I have missed so much. I've been mostly painting these years, and it's just great to see you again. But I'm so moved by all the poetry that I decided to read a poem I wrote a few years ago. We're living out on the east end of Long Island, and we had gone to Montauk for years. And the year we took my parents here for a week when my father had Alzheimer's, and it's called Montauk. We get to mourn together here on this trip, our non-vacation by the sea, and listen as the slowly fading cache of words is swallowed up by the great silence that surrounds it. The ocean symphony so overwhelms us that tuning into any other music would just distract us now. So instead, we just immerse ourselves together in the endless succession of waves, pounding everything into oblivion. Montauk 2. What else can one do on a cloudy day like this one, chilly, when the winds whip scarf and wind and towel around in disarray, penetrating every layer with a searing coolness that bespeaks the autumn soon to come? What else to do but heed the sound of waves drowned out beneath the wind, now blowing hard, that gathers up rain and disperses it. The wetness of the sea is everywhere now, encompassing us all. And Montauk 3. Every day I rise to catch the sea at dawn, to let my sadness empty out on paper. Sometimes words flow easily. They might become a poem. Other times they're stifled, bottled up, unable to emerge, drowned out instead by crashing, watery noises of the sea's loud, giant tears. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi Rain. And welcome back to the Guild, Heidi.
Thank you.
I'm going to move you back to attending mode.
Okay.
Heidi Rain. Linda Albert, you're on deck. Now going to bring Deborah Staunton back. You may remember she was one of our testimonial givers. Waiting for Deborah. Here she is. I'm unmuting you, Deborah. There you are. This is Deborah Staunton.
The parking lot is dark and Daddy is drunk. Tonight's meeting place is the local diner. Mom pulls up next to Dad's car and I hold my breath as he comes over to meet us. I know immediately that he's drunk, and glancing at my 11-year-old brother, I begin to catalog my options. Mom says, "Charlie, you can't take them like this." Dad's speech is a burst of slurred ugliness, his words filled with derision. "Don't you tell me what I can or cannot do." Mom stands there, quietly calculating. She suggests that we all go into the diner for something to eat. Dad refuses and turns to us. "Kids, get in the car." My brother starts toward the passenger side door, but I grab his arm. "No, Daddy, you're drunk." "Deb, I'm your father, and I'm telling you to get in the car. You have to listen to me." "Not when you're drunk, Daddy." My arm moves swiftly, and I snatch the keys out of his hand. His face hardens. "Give me the keys, Debbie." "No, I can't do that, Daddy." I said, "Give me the keys now." I stuff them deep into the pocket of my jeans. Dad's face registers my resolve, and he silently surrenders. "Let's go get something to eat," Mom tries again. And this time, Dad agrees. My brother's small shoulders sag, his large eyes glisten as he takes a few tentative steps toward the brightly lit diner. We slide into a booth by a window, a broken family trying to put the pieces back together. Later, cold hamburgers sit untouched on large white plates. Daddy's words are slurred and angry as he continues the drunken tirade he began in the parking lot. I don't absorb his words as much as the derision in his speech, the raw emotion in his voice, anger and demeanor. Mom's attempt to cap this as a combination of quiescent and controlled despair. As Dad's tenuous grip falters, their voices rise, and I am acutely aware of the growing silence around us and the blatant, judgmental stares of the other diners. And then, without warning, Dad issues a terrifying threat. "I'll blow your head off with the shotgun." I never saw it coming. He refers to the gun that he used to keep in a locked box behind a headboard in my parents' bedroom, the one he purchased to protect his family from intruders. With this sudden outburst, the diner goes completely quiet. I stare into my plate, and when I finally look up, my silent plea for help is met with 4 pairs of eyes locked on our table. 3 waitresses and a busboy who tends my school. They whisper to each other, and the boy looks at me with a combination of pity and horror. Eventually, Mom convinces Dad to skip the visitation this week, and we get back in the car and head home. Mom tries to reassure us that Daddy won't show up at the house tonight or follow through on his threat, but we pack overnight bags and spend the night at a friend's house just in case. Sometime later, days, maybe weeks, I steal into my parents' bedroom and peek behind the headboard of the bed they once shared. Mom must have taken the key because the lock is still intact, but the wood is smashed and the box is empty. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Deborah Staunton. Deborah, I'm going to move you back into attendee mode. Marie Claude Arnault, you're on deck, and you are going to have to correct my pronunciation of your name. And now I'm going to bring in Linda Albert as our next reader. Linda Albert joining us. Linda, I'm unmuting you. If you want to be seen, and if the camera has there you are. Let's hear you. Let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Let me know when you're ready to start. This is Linda Albert.
All right, I am going to read, depending on the time. I timed it, and it seems as though maybe my timer was going faster, but this is entitled Prodigal Daughter. A man went to confession. He expected anonymity, but the booth with real work was gone. Only a young priest he knew in other guises was there to greet him. The man hadn't been to church in years, carried coins for penance, was ready for a beating, but the priest only looked at him and smiled. "Welcome back," was what he said. The man told the story to a woman who had come to him for guidance. Long ago, she lost the thread that held her to her roots. Ashamed at such a failure, she too prepared for punishment. Not beating, but banishment was what she feared. Instead, the unexpected kindness of his story dropped inside her like a pebble. The words set up a ripple, became a repetition, slipped past corners, fell through layers, melted ice once used as walls. "Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back" became a singing deep inside her as dormant yellow tulips pushed themselves to life through hardened clay, and defiant red geraniums blazed through winter's freeze, indifferent to their destiny in winter. Welcomed back to ground for holding, encircled by the snake who bites its tail. Still time, though late, to bloom another season. Freed to write the stories she was born to tell. This poem was published in Shallon magazine and other places a few years ago. Actually, it represents a time in my life past when my husband, who has since passed away, was still living. A small bird has flown into my chest. He flutters there, trapped. I swallow around twigs, try to ignore the nest mistakenly built in my belly, the planet's extra revolutions, my limbs becoming lakes, the helpless beaks, the frozen sky. My husband waits for brain surgery, while all I can do with my dizziness, with the somersaults, with the frantic bird, is to hold as still as possible, eyes fixed on the horizon, and pray not to fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda Albert. That was Linda Albert, and I'm moving you, Linda, back to attendee mode. And our last reader is Marie Claude Arnaud. Promoting you to panelist, Marie Claude. And I'm unmuting you, and if you want to be seen, Marie Claude, you can start your video at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Can we hear you, Marie Claude? Let's see if we can hear you at least.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you want to be seen?
Sure.
So look and see, lower left-hand corner of your screen, if you have a video camera with a red mark through it, you know, like a slash, turn that on. Click on it.
I don't see it.
Okay.
It's okay. As you know, my mind has been a little confused lately. So I'm here, and my name is Marie Claude Arnaud. I'm not a cloud yet. Anyway, it's a short piece. I know you. I am the last one. So it's called A Morning Walk on Kauai. I like morning walks when the air is still brisk and my mind is not quite awake yet. It's not that the air hasn't been brisk on the southern coast of Kauai, the oldest of the Hawaiian Islands. It's winter here, but early morning, the air carries the invigorating promise of the new day. Yesterday, I walked through an opening in a wooded area. I had seen the sign, "Please stay on the trail." I was entering the nesting grounds of the wedge-tailed shearwater birds. I treaded on the crisp, dry leaves under a natural tunnel of bushes. There, I looked for my inner self and found my quiet mind, as we do in yoga before we begin the sun salutations and the poses called asanas. I felt the quietness as a gift of nature, as if my entire body was reconnecting with Mother Earth and my mind with the divine. The passage opened to grasses gently swaying in the breeze. I kept walking as the sun began to peek past the forested bluff on the east, until I came at the edge of a cliff framed by the rugged wall of the lava below. I looked at the mighty dark aquamarine waters crash against the black solidified magma in a furious splash of bubbles. For millions of years, the ocean has come to the lava in a tumultuous yet faithful relationship. I look at the horizon where, somewhere, matter has been pushing through the earth's womb, and where, one day at a time, it will be born as a new island, as another sun salutation, and as the ocean's new lover, and the wedge-winged shearwater birds will bear witness to the rolling waves of their budding romance. Done.
Marie Claude, you finished right at 2 minutes. You had a minute left.
Well, it's very nice of you. Maybe I can find the video. I know I have it. No, I don't see anything at the bottom of my, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I just want to take this time to say I have really enjoyed the session. I missed the one yesterday because I confused the time. But I heard enough of today's, even though I almost missed that one too. And I'm looking forward to all you have announced with the next village sessions and all the wonderful speakers and instructors and mentors. So thank you to everyone who has made this session possible today.
You're so welcome. And please forgive me for not pronouncing your name right. Remember, after so many years at our summer conference, but that was Marie Claude Arnaud. I'm going to move you back into attendee mode, Marie Claude, and I am going to give you, Karen Leahy, a heads up that we're going to move you back into panelist mode because we had you slated, is that the right word, slated to give a testimonial earlier, and we missed you. I missed you. So I'm going to move you back into that. Folks, that was the end of our Sunday, day 2 of our Digital Village open house, all voices open mic. Thanks to all the readers. We're going to move into our wrap up, but Karen, I'm moving you into panelist mode. The K we love, the K we love, there she is. Unmuting you, Karen. There.
Coming. Ah, you got me. Okay. I get a second to tell you about the K we love. An old friend that I see about once a year, I was telling him one time that I was having a hard time and didn't feel like myself. And he said, oh, like the Karen we know and love. And I thought that was so beautiful that I sometimes use the K we love as a reminder of that beautiful little gift. As far as being a member of the IWWG, it's true about all the inspiration, all the laughter, all the community. I also want to say we don't just share laughter and even good belly laughs, but we also share tears, because as we open our souls and open ourselves and write honestly, we sometimes hit really hard things and have to cry over them, and it's perfectly acceptable in this loving community. So I really love that. And also wonderful teachers, but also learning from fellow members, the things that they share and the friendships that grow out of that. And the last thing I want to say is a quote from the author Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves. And this, to me, describes one of the major gifts I get from the IWWG. Quote, one of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. And I think that is what the Guild has helped inspire me to do and inspired so many of its members to do. That's it.
Thank you so much, Karen. Hey, Marj, help me out here. It's Kelly here.
Yes.
I hid myself, but now I can't figure out how to get back in view.
You're in view.
I am?
Yep, we can see you, but now I'll use this opportunity to tell people about one of our functionalities. When you're a panelist, is you have something called Spotlight Video, which means that you're the prominent one on the screen. And I actually, as host, have all power to do that, but you have power yourself. You're back on Spotlight, Kelly.
Oh, I'm spotlighted.
Yeah, it's in the upper right-hand corner of your box when you are a panelist.
Okay.
That power. Yep.
Well, I can't see myself right now, but that's okay. We have Hope Player back with us on the panel. We have Dixie King back with us on the panel. Marj, that was really, really, really cool. Great open mic.
Mm-hmm.
Really great job. Thank you so much. And thank you to the incredible readers, the lineup we had, oh my gosh, it was really just like we were back in the summer conference, and everybody did a perfect job preparing exactly the right amount. It was, oh my God, it was so smooth. The technology, everything. Thank you, everybody. That was so wonderful to hear from you after we haven't seen you in so long. Welcome back to members who are rejoining us. And Dixie, I can't believe that we're reaching the end of our 2-day open.
Do you know, it reminds me a little bit of Thanksgiving dinner. You know, you prep and you prep and you prep, and then all of a sudden it's over. And it's like, how did that happen? How much fun was this, though? And I hope everybody had as much fun as we did. And if you did, you know, write into IWWGquestions@gmail.com and leave us your comments, because we'd sure love to be able to quote you if you're willing to be quoted, and to have that opportunity to share what your reactions were to people who didn't make it on, so that hopefully they'll at least go back and check out the YouTube video, but will also join us in the future for other activities.
Thank you all for all the hard work that you put into making this happen today. I mean, we took an idea and it has become reality for 2 days in a row. This is awesome.
Yeah, we did it, didn't we? Amazing.
And we had, what's amazing is how we really, truly, we wanted to create a global digital village. And we seem to have really done that. We've had visitors and attendees from around the globe?
You know, I think that is probably the most exciting part of this for me, is we have been trying to figure out ways that we could involve women internationally in what we do. This is going to be our forum. How exciting to see people from so many different locations around the world at, I know, sacrificial hours for some of you because of the time differences. But, you know, we will try to vary the hours at which we offer things so that it's not always going to be sacrificial for you. But indeed, welcome everyone. And we're just so glad to have you, members and non-members alike. And we hope to see you at many of our events in the future.
And the beauty too, Dixie, is we hadn't always been able to reach all our women writers in the United States. We have members in Alaska.
Exactly.
And now we can reach them too. So
also, you know, the other thing I'm thinking about too are younger women, women who are just have young children, women, you know, women who have older parents they're taking care of, people who can't join us at physical locations. They don't have the discretionary money, or they don't have the time, or they have other things that are, you know, impinging on their resources, and they just can't make it. So this is our opportunity to come together, and we are open to ideas, by the way. We've talked about virtual writing groups, we've talked about book clubs, webinars, classes, but if you have ideas for things that we can do, we would absolutely love to hear them, because if there's any way we can make it happen, we will do our best to do so.
Hey, Marj, would you say a couple of things about what our participants can expect in their inboxes again tonight or tomorrow? I mean, maybe not tonight, but how about tomorrow? I know you're going to get the videos, both of them, uploaded to our IWWG channel on YouTube, and I'm going to get Jan's video uploaded to our YouTube account as well, so that people can finish watching that beautiful 40-year anniversary video on our channel. What can they expect from you to send them?
Yeah, so I will be, you know, how this beautiful technology works is that when you sign up for a webinar, it's free or fee-based, even if you want to attend live, you can get a recording sent to you. Because this weekend's videos are free, open to the public, I'll be, as Kelly said, posting those on our YouTube channel. It's called IWWG channel. And I'll be posting them in both the public Facebook page, International Women's Writing Guild, and our member page, IWWG Members Room. And I'm going to actually send those videos in an email to our entire contact list. And also to the folks who registered for the webinar. I encourage you, if you registered for the webinar, you may have found us via Facebook, please go to IWWG.org and join our mailing list, which is at the very bottom of the page. And those of you who are already on our mailing list, but also registered for the webinars, you might get this twice, so forgive. I think that's it, Kelly. And
okay.
Yes, tomorrow, if not tonight.
We do have one question, Marj, that is in the chat room about, is the chat archived?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah. The chat is archived, and if you, for some reason, want to reread comments about your writing in the open mic, I can send that to you. So yes. Yeah, you would want to email me, though, at iwwgquestions@gmail.com, which I've typed into the chat room. I'll type it again.
We've been having quite a few, I just want to give some of our chatters the final word. I've been talking everyone's ear off about these 2 days of open house for days on end now. So glad it happened. So excited to have more events to look forward to. Thank you, team. That's from Catherine. And
oh, that's from Katarina. Yeah,
Katarina.
who read.
And from Heidi, a fabulous reacquaintance with the ever-expanding embrace of IWWG. Thanks to the coordinators for making this happen and all the heartfelt words shared by open readers. I'm deeply moved to be an active part of the community again and eager for more.
And Wanda is asking the important question of the day, which is, when's the next activity? And you will be getting an announcement. I believe that our interview with, or the webinar rather, with Maureen will be the next activity. She's been traveling, and so we haven't been able to determine a date yet, but it's going to be early November. And that's going to kick off our the rest of our fall activity. So is that about right, Marj? Any other information on that? Okay.
That's true. Maureen and I will confirm that this week when she returns.
Perfect. Perfect.
And I just have to say, I believe it was Susan Hagen who said this was her very first time of reading her work.
Yes.
And so that would be a first timer on our first time in a digital village with our All Voices open mic. That's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I was thinking that the sad part is that people don't get the applause that they get at the summer conference when they read, or at one of our regionals. And then I realized, no, the chat room and the incredible number of comments coming through are the applause. So how wonderful is that? And we do encourage you, if you join us in future open readings, which we certainly hope you will, then please do put in your comments freely, because being able to go back and read what people have said about your work, even if it's just repeating the phrases that were most meaningful to them, which is what Eunice Scarf has taught us, that is definitely such a warm and cozy place to be at the end of a reading.
Well, it's 7:01. I think we've fulfilled our mission. It's been so fabulous and fun. I think I'll be a little sad tomorrow.
Definitely. Oh my goodness. Thank you, everybody. It's been such a fun couple of days.
We're signing off. The Digital Village Open House.
Have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Or Monday.
Blessings all.
In the spirit of the guild.